Investigated by police after he referred to a postal worker as the Pikey on Twitter. The Labour Erdington MP Jack Dromey quickly posted another tweet to say he was referring to the Dad's Army character Frank Pike. But David Morris, a Tory MP for Morecambe, has written to the Metropolitan Police claiming it could be an incident that may constitute incitement to racial hatred. Police in Belfast say a bomb which exploded in the city centre last night had the capacity to kill and seriously injure. There was a warning before the device went off, but it gave the wrong location. Jerry White is the manager of a bar in the area.
The Cathedral Court is up and coming. It's an area that attracts everybody from all over the city, in fact from all over Northern Ireland, for the entertainment and the restaurants. Now these restaurants tonight, every one of them had to close. There's tourists over that are being evacuated from the hotel. It's an absolute disaster for the city.
No one was hurt in the incident. The Northern Ireland Secretary Teresa Villas called it a reckless, deplorable attack on a busy area of the city. Dissident Republicans are being blamed. Police in Colorado say a student with a grudge against a teacher shot and wounded two of his classmates before killing himself. A 15-year-old girl's critically ill in hospital following the shootings at the Afraho High School near Denver. Sports news now, and Walsall make the short trip to Shrewsbury for the first of two FM commentaries on BBC WM later from 1 o'clock, with the build-up starting at midday. The Saddlers have gone 4 matches without a win and haven't scored in 3 of those games. The manager, Dean Smith, expects plenty of passion on and off the pitch for what's traditionally been Walsall's fiercest derby.
There seems to be a big rivalry there, hence the 1 o'clock kick-off, I think, and there should be a good crowd for it. We won't lose sight of the fact that it's the next game and we want to get 3 points, but it does add a little extra spice to it.
West Bromwich Albion are away at Cardiff City. It's our second commentary game here on BBC WM this afternoon. The kick-off's at 3 o'clock. Birmingham City are at Bournemouth, whilst Wolves are home to Milton Keynes Dons. Taking a look at the weather, dry to start with sunny spells today, turning wet and windy later with some heavy rain this afternoon. Highs of 11 Celsius, that's 52 Fahrenheit. Staying wet and windy tonight with overnight lows down to 2 Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. Sunday's looking dry in the morning with showers in the afternoon. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The Voice.
The Voice.
The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
They have kids and they want somebody else to keep them.
Social services shouldn't exist.
I know quite a few people that have had pay cuts in their wages just to hang on to their job.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. All through the news, I was just coughing and spluttering there. Molly, I think I need to have a word with you. Lots coming up on the show this morning, including a very, very special guest. You won't want to miss that. That'll be in the last hour of the show. We're also talking about football violence and football hooliganism. There's a big match today, and there is a lot of concern as to what might happen there. Have you ever been involved in football violence? I'm not a sporting person, OK? You may have picked that up, I don't know. Why do we still get violence in some football games? 08453 00 9956. But first off, a story of an incredible story of a miscarriage of justice. We'll be going into more detail about that specifically, but kind of the offshoot of that is forgiveness. Are you good at forgiveness? How do you forgive someone? 81333, start your text WM. You can also send me an email, iain.lee, iain.lee at bbc.co.uk. But the best way to get in touch on this show, the way this show works, is if you phone up. 08453 00 9956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call 08453 00 9956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Now, you will have heard this story. If you've been listening to BBC WM 95.6, you will have heard mention of this story. It's incredible. Miscarriages of justice. I always find these stories just amazing. The things that some people go through. A Redditch man is waking up this morning for his first day of freedom after being released from a 16-year jail sentence for a crime which police now believe he didn't commit. 16 years in prison for something you didn't do. Victor Neelan was jailed in 1997 for attempted rape. But lawyers for the 53-year-old who was a postman when he was arrested say recent forensic tests have found DNA traces from another man on the victim's clothing. Victor Neelan's lawyer has confirmed to the BBC he'll be seeking a 6-figure sum of compensation for his client. But can we ever really put a price on losing your liberty? I also want to know whether you could forgive, OK? If you were Victor, could you forgive the justice system, the police, the court, the judge, which put you in prison wrongly? Also, could you forgive your family if they disowned you, not believing your innocence? I want your forgiveness stories this morning. I don't know if you remember, a few weeks ago, we had an amazing call from a gentleman whose brother had been killed by an explosion in Afghanistan. He forgave the Taliban members that planted that bomb. He forgave them. Now, with Christmas upon us, the season of goodwill, all of that, how good are you at forgiveness? Can you do it, or do you struggle? 08459... no, that's my almost my own personal number, for goodness sakes. 08453 009956. But back to this story of Victor Neelan. I'm joined now by Leo O'Toole, who is a friend of Victor's and has been working on the campaign for his conviction to be overturned. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. I'm staggered by this story. Let's go back in time, if we can, Leo, to 1997.
Sure.
Victor gets sentenced. Did you always believe his innocence?
Well, I didn't come into Victor's case until some years after he'd been sentenced.
Right.
And when I first met Victor, it was in Wakefield. And I heard his story, and it was a convincing story about how something had gone so wrong, and how he had been accused of a crime for which he claimed he was innocent. And of course, he's always held that situation, and we've now been proved right.
Now, did you believe that, though, Leah? Because prison, as we all know, is full of innocent people. I didn't do that. They got the wrong guy. What was different about Victor's story?
It was the facts surrounding the case at the time. And when you look at them carefully, they didn't stand up to rigorous testing and challenging. And so we just sat down and we had to find a way of showing that the judgment was wrong.
And how did you do that?
Well, we had to look at all the evidence that was there and all the evidence that was not presented as well. There was a considerable amount of evidence that was available but not disclosed at the time. And some of the evidence that was there had the work of the police and the CPS misled the court into the findings that were actually available to them at the time. So it was a very, very complex case, and it's taken a long time to unravel.
When did he find out he was going to be released?
Yesterday morning.
Wow, it happens that quickly, does it?
It took us all by surprise.
Yeah.
We were not expecting such a rapid outcome at all. We knew we had a pretty strong case, but any case of a Court of Appeal case is always subject to what happens on the day and the strength and the reliability and the soundness of the evidence. So we just had to do our homework and go in and give it our best shot.
And what was his life like in prison? Because we often hear of people who've committed sexual crimes being treated rather badly.
Well, that is true. He has had a very difficult and traumatic time in prison. And as he continued to protest his innocence, like you said earlier on, the place is full of people who were innocent. But in actual fact, he was innocent, and that was the difficulty. And holding on to that belief was very, very hard at times.
Have you spoken to him yet? Since he's been released?
I spoke to him last night. He was released out, and obviously his first concern was to find somewhere to stay, because he has nowhere to stay. He didn't have a lot of money when he was released, so he was virtually homeless.
So where did he stay last night then?
Well, we had to find accommodation for him in Yorkshire. And we're trying to sort out the rest of it now over the weekend.
So the prison service, the justice system didn't find him a halfway house or a B&B or anything like that? He was just...
No. No, they just released him. He had, to be honest, he had very little money. They gave him a ticket to wherever he wanted to go, which is their statutory obligation, and then let him get on with his life.
Why couldn't he go home to his family?
Well, all his family are in Ireland.
Right.
And they haven't been in contact for considerable time. And his first priority was to get out the door, find somewhere to stay, and then to start to rebuild his life and reopen contact and reconnect with all his family and friends.
So he hasn't. They've not been in contact, the family and Victor. Is that because of the crime? They thought he was guilty.
Yeah, the nature of the crime itself, and also because they're in Ireland and it's not easy to get over from Ireland to England to visit, and those are issues that happen for people from other countries who are detained in this country. Keeping contact with the family is very, very difficult. We're
talking about forgiveness this morning, Leo,
yes.
and understandably, perhaps, some of Victor's friends and family have turned their back on him. Do you think he'll be able to forgive them for doing that?
Yes, I think that the core of the situation was, or is, that he was innocent. And when these crimes like this happen, people do form judgments. That's natural. So the process of reconnecting with his family, rebuilding family relationships, and going and making up for lost time, it'll be difficult, but it's achievable.
How do you think he's going to be able to rebuild his life? 17 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. People, friends, family have turned their back on him. He's got, you say, no money, nowhere to go, no job. Is he going to be able to rebuild his life?
With help and support, he will do, yes. It'll take time. It'll be just as hard a challenge rebuilding his life as it was proving his innocence. It'll be traumatic. There'll be good days and bad days, and that will have to be dealt with as each day comes. But for Victor is to take one day at a time, get used to the shock of coming back into a society that has changed considerably in those 16 or 17 years, and then to try and find out and become a useful and valued member of society. That's his wish, and to get a job if he can get one. But it's going to be difficult for him, and he knows that. His lawyers told us last night he's looking to get compensation, and rightfully so. Do we know any idea of the figures they're looking for? And will obviously money will be able to help in a practical sense, but do you think that will make a difference to his recovery? Compensation does help, but it's only part of the overall need. His immediate need is to be able to sit down and just collect his thoughts, collect his mind, and adjust, and to then start asking questions: why and how this has happened, and what can be done to ensure it doesn't happen to anybody else. And Leo, when are you planning to see him? Have you got a date yet? Well, I'm waiting on him to call me, actually, Ian, because I'm like you. I'm not quite sure where he's located last night, and I have so much information to pass on to him, and I know that the story's about Victor, and it's his story that you want to hear, and his attitude and so on. But I can say he does not hold grudges, but he does want to know why, and he wants to know what happened, and he also wants the people responsible for it to hold their hands up and say, sorry, we got it wrong, and we have learned from this. Do you know if the police have apologised yet? I don't think so. Okay. I don't know that for sure, Ian. Obviously, they haven't had a chance to speak to Victor yet, so I can imagine that will be the first point of the conversation. We're sorry for what's happened. Now let's sit down and look at it and see what we can do to redress this, and to see if we can put systems in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Leo, I appreciate your time this morning. That's Leo O'Toole. He's a friend of Victor Nealon, who was jailed in 1997 for attempted rape. He's been released because he didn't do it. What a mix-up. So many questions. First of all, what compensation do you think Victor should get? Is money really going to help? And also, forgiveness. He's got a lot of forgiving to do, possibly, if he wants to move on in his life. Really want to hear your stories of forgiveness this morning. 08453 009956. Right, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the latest travel news now, shall we?
We can indeed, Ian. Thank you very much. Good morning. In Bromsgrove, the 448 is shut both ways because of an accident between the A38 and Alfchurch Highway. It's likely to cause you some disruption. Police tell us the road will be shut for some time. It has already been closed since about 6:30 this morning. There's some loose horses on the carriageway on Walsall Road in Lichfield, the A461 at Pauk Lane. They think a fire nearby may have spooked the horses, but police are trying to round them up. In Codsall Wood, this accident on White House Lane is still causing you problems at Church Lane. You're having to squeeze by there. It's busy in Handsworth on the A41, bit congested again towards Five Ways Island. Your match day travel sees an early kick-off at 1 o'clock with Walsall fans heading to Shrewsbury. Not a long journey. Birmingham City fans are off to Bournemouth, though. That's 3 hours down the M40 and the M3. Both those motorway routes looking OK so far this morning. Baggies fans are off to Cardiff, and it's clear so far on the M5 and then on to the M4. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Thank you very much.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
The best thing about Christmas is have a big turkey dinner or chicken or beef, I don't know. The whole atmosphere of it's really exciting.
In my opinion, I think I've been a very good girl this year. Been a little bit patient with my sister, even though she's very annoying.
No, I am not. Sometimes I admit I've been a teeny bit shouty. Everyone makes mistakes, like
the Queen. She makes mistakes sometimes. Happy Christmas from BBC WM 95.6.
Thank you very much to Liz Hall there for the travel news. If you want to give me a call, 08453 009956. This case of Victor Neelan is fascinating, and it brings up two kind of aspects. Well, I guess three. If you've been a victim of a miscarriage of justice, however big or small, I'm not expecting you to call in and say, oh, yes, I was in prison for 10 years and on a crime I didn't commit. But if you have been a victim of a miscarriage of justice, would love to hear your story, of course. 08453 009956. But I guess the two kind of main things here are, first of all, the compensation. How much compensation should Victor get? I think there's a limit on how much he can get as well. Is it £500,000? It's something like that. Now, £500,000, if that's the case, for 17 years in prison, doesn't sound anywhere near enough to me. Doesn't sound even approaching appropriate. What figure would you put on it? 08453 009956. And I know there may be one or two of you listening who think, well, hang on a second, he doesn't deserve any compensation. I know, because I've done phone-ins like this before. If that's you, give me a call, 08453 009956. And I think the argument there is, well, money isn't necessarily going to fix things. It's not going to change him. It's not going to help with all of the pain and the suffering that this gentleman's been enduring for the last 17 years. 08453 009956. The other aspect of this has to be forgiveness. Now, I would imagine that if Victor is going to proceed in his life on any meaningful level, he's going to have to learn to forgive a heck of a lot of people. Otherwise, he's going to be carrying resentments around with him on his back for ages. And resentments are dangerous things. Who's he going to have to forgive? Let's have a think. Well, the police, I would imagine. They would need to be on the list. The court, the judge. The other prisoners, who I would imagine, we all know that sex offenders get treated very, very badly in prison. And also his friends and family who turned their back on him. Not all of them, but there were significant members of his family, significant friends, who didn't believe Victor's story. And let's be honest, I've been trying to put myself in their position. I think I'd struggle. If a friend of mine had been convicted and sentenced for rape, it would be hard not to believe the evidence of the court and the opinion of the judge, wouldn't it? So I need your stories this morning on forgiveness. Who have you forgiven? How have you forgiven? How difficult was it? 08453 009956. Or are you one of those people that finds it impossible to forgive anybody? I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better. I struggle a bit. I carried resentments and grudges for a long time. If someone had done me wrong, Oh, that resentment went with me a long time. I'm getting better at forgiving people and moving on. I'm not perfect. Any tips you've got, any examples you have, 08453 00 9956. The reason we're talking about this, of course, is Victor Neelan, jailed in 1997. He's from Redditch for a crime he didn't commit. He was jailed for rape, spending his first morning today in 16 years as a free man. Forensic evidence has revealed that another person's DNA was on the clothing of the victim. The former postman is now 53 years old. His lawyer has confirmed to the BBC he'll be seeking a six-figure sum of compensation. Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Dennis Eady, who's a case consultant with the Innocence Project. Good morning, Dennis. What is the Innocence Project?
The Innocence Project is a scheme which actually started in America and came about in this country largely through the initiative of Dr. Michael Norton at Bristol. And it engages the idea, it runs in a number of different universities in the country now, and the idea is to engage law students under academic and, where possible, legal supervision to look at and review miscarriages of justice or potential miscarriages of justice.
So this is why, while people are still in prison...
In the main, yes.
How do you decide which ones are miscarriages of justice?
Well, it's an interesting thing when you actually start to look at this whole justice issue that we tend to think of, black and white, guilty, innocent, that proof and so on. But in reality, it's not like that. In many cases, you look at the case and you think, well, this really is difficult to unravel. And sometimes it takes years to even know for sure. Sometimes you never know for sure whether it is a miscarriage of justice. Having said that, there are some miscarriages of justice which are blazingly obvious, and those are not always overturned. So how do you know is a very difficult question, because the whole thing is littered with uncertainty.
You say that some are obvious, then how on earth do those cases get, how do they get convictions?
They get convictions for all sorts of reasons. I think people perhaps don't appreciate the amount of things that can go wrong in a criminal justice process. Let's think about it for a moment. There are problems with science, as the case you're talking about this morning demonstrates. Well, those problems can be issues of interpretation by scientists. Different experts have different views. They can be contamination, they can be malpractice, they can be false matches. In this case, it seems perhaps tests which weren't even carried out. There are problems with witnesses. People's perceptions, people's memories are not always what they think they are, and honest people sometimes get things wrong. Add to that the fact that the criminal justice situation is littered with informants and people who are actually in the criminal world themselves. So many witnesses are not particularly honest in themselves. There are issues around investigations, the complexity of investigations, sometimes the sort of intervention of a kind of tunnel vision in looking at cases, the pressure that investigations may be under from all sorts of angles, and all the problems with the adversarial system. The notion that the jury hears all the evidence is in fact a myth. What the jury hears is two carefully selected versions of the event. So even before you get to problems of actual malpractice, the criminal justice system is littered with uncertainty. There are so many things that can go wrong, and miscarriages of justice are almost inevitable. And that's why we have to have an effective appeals system, much more effective than we have now, to actually address these things quickly, not 17 years later.
I was hearing about a case a couple of months ago where a young lad in Luton got released after serving, I think, 6 or 7 years for murdering his girlfriend. He never did it. We're hearing this case now about Victor serving 16 years for rape. He didn't do it. Are the cases like this rare?
Well, no, they're not really that rare. I mean, they're rare in the sense that I'm not suggesting the majority of convictions are miscarriage of justice. But it's, of course, a very difficult thing to actually analyse because it's a disputed concept. There have been attempts to try and sort of figure out how many people are wrongly convicted, and studies have ranged between sort of 2% and 17%. Now, if you think of a prison population of 86,000, as it stands at the moment, that's a lot of people. Certainly, if you take the Criminal Cases Review Commission, for example, which is the body which now is responsible for investigating some categories of miscarriage of justice, they're getting 900 to 1,000 applications a year. innocence projects exist primarily because of the failure of the system to overturn these cases. It's another attempt to try and tackle the problem. They're overloaded with cases. Lawyers who do this kind of appeal work are overloaded with cases.
Now, doing a job like I do with hosting phone-in shows, so many times I get people phoning up for whatever reason saying we should bring back the death penalty, bring back hanging, bring the electric chair, the lethal injection. It's cases like this that give a really strong argument for not bringing that back, don't they? Because so many people have been convicted for nasty offences that they haven't done.
Absolutely, yes. And I know people in prison today who I believe are innocent. Some of them served 20, 30 years.
Wow.
And at the moment, frankly, there's little prospect of them ever being released. Some of these cases there are differing opinions on, but there are very obvious cases. I mean, there's a person called Susan May who died recently. Now, she was eventually released, but she was convicted of murdering her elderly aunt. She had no end of friends in Parliament. There was an organisation called the Parliamentary Friends of Susan May. I attended a meeting of Susan May's campaign group in the Houses of Parliament at the time when Susan, who's still not been cleared, was still technically a convicted murderer. Now, imagine the bizarre nature of that situation. You're in the Houses of Parliament, surrounded by MPs and various high-profile people, considering the case of somebody who still is apparently a convicted murderer who is there with you. It's a very bizarre sort of Alice in Wonderland situation. The only people left in the country who seem to think that Susan May is perhaps still guilty are the Court of Appeal and the Criminal Cases Review Commission.
Now, we know that Victor Neelan is going to be looking for compensation. What kind of figures could be handed out? 16 years in prison. What kind of figure could he be expecting?
Well, I don't really know. I don't want to comment on that because it's very speculative. What I do know is that the government has really tightened up on compensation. You get cases, people like Sean Jenkins, who I know is a controversial case, but undoubtedly innocent when you actually really analyse the evidence.
Just remind the people what the Sean Jenkins case was, very briefly.
Sean Jenkins was a deputy head teacher who was convicted of the murder of his foster daughter and was eventually cleared of that crime. I've obviously not time to go into all the evidence, but I can assure you that the evidence in his case pointed entirely to his innocence. Another, perhaps a better-known case, Barry George, the murder of Gil Janda.
Of course, yes.
Again, Barry, frankly, was incapable of carrying out that kind of murder, and that should have been obvious from the start. But in both of those cases, those people have tried to get compensation and have been refused compensation on the basis that the evidence of innocence is not compelling enough. Now, what on earth does that mean? It means you're not innocent enough. So they've actually been refused compensation. The level of compensation that people are getting now is much less. And I would add that there was a great campaigner for a famous case called the Bridgewater Four, a lady called Anne Whelan, who used to point out to me that we shouldn't call it compensation, we should call it damages, because that's what it does to people. Mr. Neelan's case reminds me very much of the Stefan Kishko case, who also served 17 years for a sexual murder. It was later shown by scientific evidence that he couldn't have done it.
Dennis, thank you very much indeed. That's Dr. Dennis Eady, who's a case consultant with the Innocence Project. Whenever I talk about crimes and murders and rapes and things like this, you always get some idiots that call in, we should bring back the death penalty. Bring back the death penalty. It doesn't work. And this case of Victor Neelan proves that it doesn't work, proves that the death penalty can never work. He would probably have been hanged under if we had the death penalty. They would have hanged him. He's an innocent man. Listening to this, there can't be anybody in their right mind who thinks that the death penalty is still a good idea. Maybe you do. I bet you don't. 08453 009956. You can't do. I'm just going to go off a death penalty rant for a second. Indulge me, please. Indulge me. If anyone thinks they can give me a good argument for the death penalty on the back of this story, on the back of Victor Neelan, who was jailed in 1997 and served 16 years in prison for a rape that he did not commit. If anybody hearing that thinks they can still justify the death penalty, 08453 009956, because there is no way you can. The lad I mentioned, lad in Luton, served 6 years or 7 years for murdering his girlfriend. He would be dead under the system if we had, which is it? Corporal punishment, capital punishment, which is one of them's hitting children, one of them's hanging people. Corporal punishment, capital. Anyway, it wouldn't work. It doesn't work in the slightest. 08453 009956. Andy's in Hell's Owen. Morning, Andy.
Good morning, Marmite.
Andy, what can I do for you?
Well, I wasn't going to ring up, but I take exception to what you've just said about people ringing in and saying, bring back the death penalty. Well, I'm one of them people, and I'm not an idiot, Ian.
Why would you want to... Why would you want to bring back the death penalty, Andy?
Always said, beyond reasonable doubt, and the death penalty should be brought back.
Right.
But I'm not an idiot, Ian.
Victor Neelan would have been hanged.
Pardon?
Victor Neelan would have been hanged.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
He served 16 years in prison, Victor.
Right.
He's been sentenced beyond reasonable doubt. He would have been hanged.
Well, I can't answer that.
Well, no, you have to answer it because you phoned up defending the death penalty, and yet
yeah.
you're given one hurdle and you fall.
But my case has always been round little children and policemen. Not cases of this stature sort of thing.
Well, OK, we just spoke to the doctor there. He talked about a headmaster that'd been convicted of murdering his stepdaughter.
That's
He was found innocent. He would have been hanged.
Oh, that's right.
You've just killed Andy. You've just killed two innocent people.
Well,
that's OK, is it?
I mean, all right, Ian. You're catching me out, and that's what you're trying to do. That's what you're paid to do. Look. Now listen to me.
Okay.
Now, listen to me.
Go on, Andy.
You've got the likes of the Moors murderers, where it was proved beyond reasonable doubt the crimes they committed. You've got the Ripper, who killed all these women. You've got the Panther, who just recently died, beyond reasonable doubt. This is what I'm on about. You are right. You are right. Those two people you have just mentioned, they would have more than probably have been hung. And obviously, I hold my hand up to that. But I still maintain, Ian, that they should still bring the death.
But Andy, you've just killed two innocent men,
I have, yeah.
and you're happy with that.
Was it beyond reasonable doubt?
You don't go to prison.
I don't remember the case.
You don't go to prison unless it's beyond reasonable doubt. You don't go to prison unless it's beyond reasonable doubt. You have just killed two innocent men. Are you happy with that?
Well,
can you sit with that on your conscience?
I'm not happy, as I say. My mind goes back to the little girl whose parents, who's just been recently killed last year, wasn't it, in Wales?
Yeah, April Jones, yeah.
And the man they've got, he was beyond reasonable doubt,
Andy,
with all this evidence they can prove.
With the greatest of respect, you're not listening to the facts. Victor
I am
Neelan.
listening to the
Victor
facts,
Neelan.
I mean, you're trying to catch me out. I've got no answer to it. You're all right. Now I've killed two innocent people, but I still maintain.
Are you happy with that?
Bring back the death penalty.
Are you happy with having killed two innocent men?
No, of course I'm not happy.
Well, then the system
but my
doesn't
argument is as
work.
well regarding this case, Ian, listening to it, his family haven't showed a great deal of faith in him, have they? Let's be fair, the man's just come out of jail. I am defending him a little bit here, obviously. So obviously his family, now come on, must have thought that the man was guilty.
Yeah, of course they did. So some people did because he was convicted of it beyond reasonable doubt.
This is his own family.
Sorry?
This is his own family.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But
I don't know.
But he's completely innocent of this crime.
Yeah.
His family believed the court. They believed the judge. So, but that's irrelevant, Andy. His family.
No, it's not irrelevant. No. What I'm trying to say, Ian, is that his family would have showed a great deal of faith in him. This is what I'm trying to say.
So what?
Say that had been me with my family, I could hold my hand up 100% that they would still back me up.
But Andy, you don't know that. If you had been convicted by a judge, if you had been sentenced, if you had served years in prison, you don't know that your family would have backed you up.
No.
You don't know that. You would have been hanged.
I do know that. Obviously, if I was guilty of the crime, You know, but I'm talking about really he was an innocent man. Wasn't
How
he?
much?
And
How
what,
much?
What I'm trying to say is that his family hadn't showed a great deal of faith.
I don't understand what that.
They must have thought the man was guilty, mustn't they?
Well, of course they did.
He's got children.
That point's irrelevant. Andy, how much compensation should we give Victor Neelan?
Well, I mean, I should. If I was the man, I'd go for the sky's the limit. I really would.
Andy, thank you very much indeed. 08453 009956. We appear to have strayed into the territory of a phone-in radio staple, which I'm more than happy to do. There is no argument for the death penalty, and Andy there has just proven it. Under his system, we've killed 2 innocent men in the space of 5 minutes, OK? And those are the only 2 examples. Barry George would be dead. There we go, it's a third person dead. 08453 009956. I don't want to stray too far from this case because I do want to focus on the compensation and the forgiveness. But you cannot, listening to this, after hearing the tragic story of Victor Neelan, served 16 years in prison for a rape he did not commit. He is innocent. Whether his family believed him or not is irrelevant. It's a MacGuffin. He did not commit this crime. If we had the death penalty, that man would be dead. And what's the point of getting a pardon posthumously? You try saying that at this time of the morning. Carl's in Tamworth. Morning, Carl.
Morning, Ian. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Carl. What do you want to say?
Well, I support the death penalty where it can be proved beyond all doubt. Now, the sort of example I want to give there are terrorists, for instance, who are, you know, they go out and they kill in the name of some mythical god, believing that they're soldiers of a religious war. They openly stand up and say, yes, I did it, you know, I admit and I'll do it again. We know there are 2 on trial now. I know you can't go into that because it's an active trial.
We can't even allude to it, so let's move on.
But, you know, that type of thing.
Not even that type of thing, but let's carry on talking about terrorists and things like that. I don't even want to go anywhere near that thing.
But that's the example I'm giving. I mean,
well, you can't give that example about that court case because it's ongoing.
No, we're not that particular court case, but there have been others, haven't there?
Okay.
There are lots of terrorists in prison who openly said, yeah, I did it, you know. Yeah, therefore, they should go. There's no doubt about that. It's proved. You would do it. This is the thing, though. This is what we can't do. Is we can't kind of have a sliding scale. So you do it for terrorists. Yeah.
Would you do it for paedophiles?
Absolutely, yeah. If it can be proved beyond all doubt.
But you can
I'm
never.
not talking reasonable doubt.
But how would you prove it beyond all doubt?
Well, I suppose there are circumstances where that can be proved. Where,
how?
You know, but they may even.
The only way you're going to prove it. The only way you could prove it is if you burst in and catch them at it. That's the only way.
Well, what if they confess? What if all the DNA evidence confirms it?
Confessions. There have been so many false confessions by people. Many people who are not up to full capacity. It's easy to get a confession from someone.
Yeah, but we're not talking about 70s policing now. We're talking about 2013. It's a little bit different.
Because they don't. Coppers don't make mistakes in 2013, do they?
Oh, coppers make loads of mistakes.
Of course they do.
I do know that, but this isn't Korea. This isn't Russia. At the end of the day, where it can be proved, and it can be proved in some circumstances.
But the thing is, Carl, Victor Neelan, it was proved he did this rape. It was proved. Yeah. It was proved in 1997 he did it. In 2013, it was proved he didn't do it. So things are constantly moving and constantly changing. He would have been hanged in 1997 if we'd have had your way.
But the thing is, Ian, it was in his case it was proved beyond all reasonable doubt. I'm talking about, but it's proved beyond all doubt.
But there is no such definition of that in British law.
Clearly, there is. I mean, people are caught in the act in certain circumstances. You know, what about when that happens? Do you not think that deserves to die?
What about the fella? What's that? Who was that fella from the 50s? What's that story? Let him have it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's 2 lads. One of them's sort of mentally challenged, shall we say. The other fella says, talking about a gun, let him have it. The implication was it shoot him or was it give the guy a gun? It gets too complicated. It gets too murky, Carl.
But again, Ian, that wasn't proved beyond all. I mean, by today's standards, that wouldn't be beyond all.
Derek Bentley, thank you. Yes, Derek Bentley. I'd like to say it came to me in a flash, but it didn't. I whispered it in my ear. Carl, thank you very much indeed. 08453 009956. You cannot have the death penalty. It does not work. It doesn't work. And Victor Neelan, the case we're talking about, a guy from Redditch, spent 16 years in prison for a rape that in 1997 it was proved beyond reasonable doubt he committed that rape. It was proved. 2013, it was proved, oh, hang on a second, no, he didn't do it. He would have been killed. We would have hanged him. You cannot bring it back. And I'm surprised. You lot, I've enjoyed this is only kind of my first odd week here, okay? And I love coming here, BBC WM 95.6, and doing this show. I thought you were all rather intelligent. It turns out that maybe you're not. Maybe some of you are silly sausages. I know. 08453 009956. Eddie's in Nuneaton. Morning, Eddie.
Good morning. Oh, me. Oh, I'm in alternate note.
Oh, Eddie, I do apologise. Let's say Nuneaton, just because it's simple. It's simpler for my thick brain.
The other day I was at George Eliot here.
Oh, I see. You move around. How dare you?
Okay, it's time for the voice of reason, I think.
Bring it on, Eddie. Let's hear it.
That chap said he wasn't going to ring up. Isn't it a shame that he did? He's not exactly a very bright chap, is he? He was arguing against absolutely nothing. Anyway, the death penalty, there is no case whatsoever to reintroduce the death penalty into this country. I don't know about the history of it and the clowns that brought it about to begin with, but you certainly don't kill your citizens. You don't do what they have done. I mean, come on now, two rights don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right. The ridiculous thing about it is these people are just not. They're just not on this planet, are they? You're talking about life there, something that you could never possibly create, and yet you'll destroy it in an instant. And that's what the death penalty is. They die in a millisecond. And like as you said, the Birmingham Six then would have been gone. Benson character in the 1950s who said let him have the gun. I really strongly suspect he said shoot him. That's what he really meant. The implication was shoot him. And the lad that shot the policeman on a rooftop was...
Eddie, what about... We just had a caller who said, you can't... It doesn't work with beyond reasonable doubt, but what about when there is no doubt whatsoever? That can't ever exist, can it?
I would say where a person's life is on the line, there's no room for doubt whatsoever, none whatsoever. And when they say beyond reasonable doubt, a lot of these people these days, violent crimes against children, against women, who are obviously, because of the evidence presented, are guilty. They still insist on being innocent because in their sick minds they think there's just that chance they could get off with it because people won't want to convict them. The thing is, there is no room in a civilised society for any country to think that they have got the right to take another person's life. It's a disgrace.
We also hear stories, Eddie, of men going to prison for rape, and then it turns out that the women have made it up. It's a tiny, tiny minority of cases, and I don't want people to think I'm saying that the majority of them. A tiny, tiny minority of cases. Again, those men would have been hanged. And sometimes children, when they are talking about abuse, sometimes they make things up, sometimes they lie, sometimes they... And again, this is a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage. But it does happen, doesn't it?
Well, of course, with a young mind, we'll say, for instance, children, you don't know what's gone down before, and if they've got a particular distaste for a certain person, and they listen, kids are very, they're very initiated at a young age. They can get some silly ideas in their head, and then they can say, oh, that person there did this, that, and the other, when they've done nothing of the sort. And as you say, I mean, a child's evidence should be very, very... should be scrutinised very closely because psychologists know the way the young mind works. And, I mean, we as adults know how other people are thinking because I was a bus driver for 34 years in Birmingham, and I know I can pick up on body language. I can see a rotter when I see one.
Eddie, thank you very much indeed. Bus drivers can always see a rotter when they pick up a rotter when they see one. Eddie, thank you very much. 08453 009956. Death penalty doesn't work. If we had it, then the gentleman we're talking about now, Victor, he would have been killed. Victor Neelan would have been hanged in 1996. It doesn't work. And you know it doesn't work. If you believe in the death penalty, you have this old-fashioned romantic notion of the 1950s when we didn't have that many murderers, we didn't have that many paedophiles. Yes, you did. The death penalty doesn't work as a punishment, And it doesn't work as a deterrent, because if it did, and if it existed in 1996, Victor Neelan, an innocent man, will be dead. 08453 009956. It's 8:46.
Iain Lee.
On BBC
Oh.
WM.
95.6.
That's me.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Of course, what I meant to press was this. It's time to get the latest travel news now. Here's Liz Saul.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning. In Bromsgrove, the A448 Bromsgrove Highway remains shut. This is because of an accident which happened about 6:30 this morning. The road is closed from the Slide Slow roundabout to the Batchley turn-off, causing a bit of congestion. Closure between the A38 and Church Highway. Police tell us they're now awaiting recovery to arrive at the scene of this accident. So hopefully that means we're not too far off the road being reopened. But as I say, it remains shut. You need to find an alternative. Cotswold, the accident still on White House Lane at Church Lane. It's looking busy on the A38 as you head away from Droitwich. Not too bad into Birmingham so far. No problems reported as you make your way around Wolverhampton this morning. Now, your match day travel sees Birmingham City fans heading to Bournemouth. It's a 3-hour journey for the 3 o'clock kick-off, so you've got a little while yet. No incidents reported on the M40, A34 or the M3. Walsall fans, you've only got a short journey, but just be aware it is an early kick-off this afternoon, 1 o'clock, playing against Shrewsbury as you head to Greenhouse Meadow. No problems reported on the M54 or the A5. And Baggies fans going to Cardiff. Clear run so far down the M5. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Liz, thank you very much.
More phone-ins.
Never accept anything other than victory over that lot.
So player for player, come on, we better than you.
More early kick-off.
Mark Regan with salt and pepper. I'd take that as a condiment.
More FM commentary.
And Aston Villa have come back from 2-0 down.
More fun.
They'd have done other things and then phone swap shop.
Yeah. More Wolves. More Baggies.
More Blues.
More Saddlers. More Villa.
BBC WM 95.6.
More football.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. You've got all feisty this morning. I didn't mean to rile you. It's nearly Christmas, for goodness sakes. But riled you are. 08453 009956. We're talking an incredible story this morning. Victor Neelan, jailed in 1997 for attempted rape. Released yesterday. He didn't do it. Compensation, forgiveness, capital punishment. We're talking about it all this morning. 08453 009956. We'll come to our guest, who's a lawyer, in a few minutes. But first of all, I just want to quickly speak to Dave in Walsall. Morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Dave, what do you want to say?
Well, when I was sort of 16 or 17, I was very involved in the sort of political arena, let's say, blogging and discussing. And this subject used to come up a lot, the death penalty. And I used to say time and time again, it's ridiculous, it's unenforceable, it's something that should never be introduced. And I was always called a soft sod for thinking that.
What? Why? Okay, why do you believe it shouldn't be introduced?
The main reason I think it shouldn't be introduced is because of this sliding scale. If you say that... I spoke to a chap who said, right, only serial murderers and paedophiles should get the death penalty. And I said to him, well, all right, so serial murderers, if we say that you kill 3 or more, then you get the death penalty, but if you kill 2, you don't. So he's saying those murders don't mean as much, or... and paedophiles. Obviously, I don't wish to defend any of these people at all. No. I'm just saying that, if you molest somebody the day before their 16th birthday, then you get killed. If you molest them the day after... Well, does that make it somehow better or okay because they've passed their 16th birthday? It's ridiculous.
And also, Dave, the argument always comes up. It'll come up later. By the way, I can't believe we're talking about bringing back the death penalty. It's an old radio staple. I feel dirty for doing it. But people will phone up and say, oh, it's a deterrent. It'll act as a deterrent. Well, hang on. I don't know if they've heard of a country called the United States of America where they have the death penalty. And guess what? They still have a load of murders going on.
Well, it's ridiculous. And another thing that people do bring up a lot is money, how much it costs to imprison people. Why not just knock them off? Well, there are so many appeals and so many appeals courts on death row that the number one cause of death on death row is natural death because it takes so long to do the appeals. And it really is.
Wow.
And that just shows. And there's so much money that goes into appeals and so on. And look at how many people there are on death row in America. It's not a deterrent. It's ridiculous.
Dave, I appreciate your call this morning. Thank you very much indeed. 08453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. A Redditch man is waking up this morning for his first day of freedom after being released from a 16-year jail sentence for a crime which police now believe he didn't commit. Victor Neelan was jailed in 1997 for attempted rape, but lawyers for the 53-year-old, who was a postman when he was arrested, say recent forensic tests have found DNA traces from another man on the victim's clothing. Well, 08453 009956 is the phone number. Joined now by Malcolm Fowler, who's a criminal law solicitor and a member of the Law Society. Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Compensation in cases like this, how does it work? Do you get a certain amount for each year, or what's the system?
Well, look, I'm sitting here staring vacantly out of my front room window, and I don't have my references with me, but I will tell you this. It's now very mean, and there's a cap on it, which really rubs salt in the wound of having been imprisoned wrongly for all this time. And by the way, there's no issue here. It isn't that someone believes he's innocent. He is innocent, and it's proved by the DNA. Now, he's going to need an immense amount of support on release. You can't just say, there's the door, off you go. It's like being dumped in another country with a language you don't understand. And so that makes it all the meaner and the more inappropriate in a so-called civilized society that compensation should have been capped in this way. Now,
the cap is £500,000, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
The cap for compensation is £500,000, isn't it?
You're right. Thank you for reminding me. I'm sorry I don't have my references with me. And you know, it whistled through Parliament, this change. I wonder sometimes if there is any concept of due process and doing right by someone who perhaps is from another class rather than in some way privileged and all the rest. But on the DNA point, let us please not run away with the idea that this is all historical and all is now well. Nothing could be further from the truth. Some years ago now, the government decided to do away with the National Forensic Science Service. It was always underfunded, it was a mixed blessing, it very often got things wrong, but at least they were accountable, and at least there were public resources going into it, and now the services are obtained on a case-by-case basis where the police have their budgets, of course, very much strapped for cash like every other organisation, and they think twice and they think hard and long before they go for the full analysis of forensic traces. In other words, they go for the cheap and dirty option, and really there is nowhere near enough checking going on there. So, you know, it's like waiting in a bus queue. There should be another bus along in a minute or two, but here, in a few years' time, the buses coming along will be the next wave of miscarriage of justice cases, unless we pull ourselves together.
So we do hear arguments from people, we've heard them this morning, that, with forensic, with all of this science, it's not the 1970s or the 60s anymore. We can get people 100%, know they are 100% guilty. And you're saying that's not the case?
Trust me, it most decidedly is not. There have been immense advances, but of course the more sophisticated it gets, the more expensive it gets. And if I may say so, what very good sense both you, Dave and yourself were talking about the death penalty. That couldn't have applied here, of course, in this case, but what good sense it is. The fact is that the expense in the appeal procedures, even here, let alone in the United States, would far outstrip the cost of keeping people in prison. Though bear in mind that that's £47,000 a year per person, so this ghastly mistake is not only a deep injustice to this particular gentleman, and not only knocks our confidence in the system for six, but also, that's how much it has cost to keep someone in prison who should never have been there in the first place.
You mentioned right at the start of the conversation, Malcolm, about the support that Victor Neelan or someone in Victor Neelan's position should be given. As far as we can tell, he was let out yesterday with his bus fare, and that was it. There was no halfway house. There appeared to be, and we could be wrong on this, but there appeared to be no counselling, nothing. He was just kind of let out. Bye.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me. The fact is that the whole issue of accommodation and trying to arrange employment and support systems generally used to be, as it were, in-house. And a lot of that is now outsourced, and so we pay a pretty penny for it. Someone will have done the creative accounting to make it look as though it's saving money, but private organizations will work according to their specifications, and they mean, for example, that if they've found accommodation for someone whilst he's on license after early release or whatever else, then the minute the license is finished, it's bye-bye. And there is no continuing effort, there is no obligation on the part of the private outsourced organizations to do any more than that. It is illusory that it saves money, because you know all about the revolving door syndrome, where people are come out of prison and then they're back again in no time at all, because they've just been decanted onto the streets in the way that you were describing with this gentleman. I hope that's not entirely right, because that is wholly unjust, is it not? But in any event, you know, if we get it wrong in a system, and all systems do get it wrong, then we should be gracious and generous about it, not grudging as though it's showing us up as being less than perfect.
Malcolm, I've got to end it there. Thank you very much. Fascinating. Malcolm Fowler is a criminal law solicitor, member of the Law Society. I think we should be bending over backwards for Victor Neelan. We should make him king for a year. We should buy him a house anywhere he wants, give him whatever job he wants, and treat him and bow down in the streets to him. Lisa's in Handsworth Wood. Good morning, Lisa.
Hello, good morning.
Lisa, what would you like to say?
Perhaps the best thing to do would be to give him a job on the judicial system. He might make more sense than some of the silly old judges that sit there do.
It's not a bad idea.
However,
yes,
what I have to say is you've really put the cat among the pigeons this morning.
Me? No, never.
First of all, I mean, you know darn well this guy would not have been hung for rape. You know, that is a silly thing. I mean, rape is considered nothing in the judicial system today.
But other people would have been killed for crimes they hadn't committed.
I can agree with that. It's a very grey area, I must admit, and I sit on the fence very firmly. The only thing I do disagree with is, because I've had quite a long life, is the fact that we kept Myra Hindley and that other animal in jail all those years, living well, and Myra Hindley was looked after, had a nose job, had a face change, was taken out shopping by the warders. Those people should have been, well, they were animals, so they should have been put down.
But then how do you differentiate? Again, you're saying that some people should be, Lisa, and some people shouldn't be.
I know, and that's where it's so difficult.
It gets tough, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Awful, but it's like if you put yourself in the shoes of the parents of the Soham murderers, those two beautiful little girls.
Yep.
What good is he to anybody? I'm afraid I'd have given him the lethal injection quite happily.
But then some people might say, Lisa, that just by killing him, that's not necessarily a punishment. He's now I can't remember his name, Iain Huntley.
Yeah, Iain Huntley.
He's now in prison suffering, isn't he? If he was dead, he wouldn't be suffering.
God, I hope to God he is. The only trouble is that, life is so cheap. I mean, we're being cheap if we say, OK, bring back hanging. I do appreciate that.
Lisa, I've got to end it there. I hope you feel you got your point across, but we're coming up to the news. Thank you very much. 08453 009956. Football violence. Ever been involved? And why on earth does it still carry on? We'll be talking about that. And we've got a very, very special guest coming up soon. You will not want to miss this.
Waking up the West Midlands with the latest news, sport, weather and travel updates. Pete Morgan at Breakfast is back Monday morning from 6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
Right, it's bang on 10 o'clock. Let's get the latest news now. Here's Kevin Pashby.
Good morning. A Redditch man is thinking of suing for compensation after he was freed yesterday after the Court of Appeal quashed his attempted rape conviction. Victor Neelan had spent 17 years locked away. 3 judges raised doubts about the DNA evidence used to convict him and said the case against him was weak. The court heard crucial DNA samples from the victim's clothes weren't tested until more than a decade after he was jailed. Lee O'Toole is Victor Neelan's friend. He's been talking to Iain Lee on BBC BBC WM this morning.
Compensation does help. It's only part of the overall needs. His immediate needs is to be able to sit down and just collect his thoughts, collect his mind and adjust, and to then start asking questions why and how this has happened and what can be done to ensure it doesn't happen to anybody else.
The body of Nelson Mandela has begun its journey to his childhood village in South Africa's Eastern Cape, where his funeral will be held tomorrow. A memorial ceremony was held at Waterkloof Air Force Base near Pretoria. His grandson, Mandla Mandela, told members of the ruling ANC party his grandfather's efforts had transformed the country.
I have witnessed ordinary South Africans who walked this long walk to freedom with him. And I can assure the African National Congress today that the future of this country looks bright.
Police are being asked to investigate a Birmingham MP after he referred to a postal worker as the Pikey on Twitter. The Labour Erdington MP Jack Dromey quickly posted another tweet to say he was referring to the Dad's Army character Frank Pike. But David Morris, a Tory MP for Morecambe, has written to the Met Police claiming it could be an incident that may constitute incitement to racial hatred. Now, following a 4-year break, light is on its way back to Walsall. The Arboretum illuminations were switched off in 2009 because of council spending cuts. But this year, a new light show's coming to the town in the Canal Basin. Clive Jessop's behind the new lights and told BBC WM why he's doing it.
As a child, I was inspired by going to at least a yearly visit to the Arboretum lights, and it's just it occurred to me when we did our development in Walsall that we'd like to give something back, and we'd also like to make people aware of what such a beautiful area that part of town is.
Sports news now. In Australia have claimed 4 wickets on the second day of the third Ashes test against England in Perth. Captain Alistair Cook and Kevin Peterson have been dismissed by the home side. Cook went for 72 while Kevin Peterson was caught out on 19. England have finished day 2 on 180 for 4 in reply to Australia's 385. Walsall make the short trip to Shrewsbury for the first of 2 FM commentaries on BBC WM 95.6 today from 1 o'clock, with the build-up starting at midday. Birmingham City are at Bournemouth, whilst Wolves are at home to Milton Keynes Dons. West Bromwich Albion away at Cardiff City as they seek to register only their second win in 10 matches. It's our second commentary game here this afternoon. The kick-off's at 3 o'clock. The Baggies keeper, Bowes Myhill, is a Welsh international and knows the Cardiff City Stadium well.
It's always a fierce atmosphere. It's tough. Played at the new and the old ground, and regardless, it's always very well supported, and you never get anything there for free, so we know that we're in for a tough game. We're in a bad run of form, we know that, we can't hide from that, and there's only one way to change that, and that's winning games, and that's what we aim to do.
Taking a look at the weather, dry to start with sunny spells today, turning wet and windy later with some heavy rain this afternoon. Highs of 11 Celsius, that's 52 Fahrenheit. Staying wet and windy tonight, overnight lows down to 2 Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. Sundays looking dry in the morning with showers in the afternoon. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
They have kids and they want somebody else to keep them.
Social services shouldn't exist.
Well, I know quite a few people that have had pay cuts in their wages just to hang on to their job.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6. A busy show. A couple of phone lines free, so if you want to give me a call, now is an excellent time to do it. We're going to carry on talking about Victor Neelan. I do feel like a dirty old so-and-so turning tricks by talking about the death penalty. It's a staple of phone-in radio, but we seem to have gone there, so let's. It doesn't work. The death penalty does not work. And anybody who says it is speaking purely from emotion and not from scientific fact. 08453 00 9956. I want to expand the Victor Neelan conversation. Sentenced, served 16 years in prison for a rape he did not commit. How on earth can you get over that? What should we give this gentleman? The most he'll get is £500,000 compensation. I say we should call him king for a year. We should buy him a house anywhere he wants, give him any job he wants, and all bow down in front of him as way of an apology. Shocking behaviour. And also, in this hour, football. Big currency here in the West Midlands. We all know that. There's a match going on today where people are worried that there might be some trouble. Now, fingers crossed there won't be. Hopefully there won't be. But last year there was. And I'm so surprised that in 2013 we're still talking. We're still scared of potential violence in a football game. In a football game. I'm not a huge football person. I've been to one game. It was Millwall versus Luton. Oh, my goodness gracious me. I know. It was horrible. It was thoroughly unpleasant. Why does this happen? Why can't people just go and enjoy a bit of football? 08453 009956. You can text me as well, 81333. Start your text WM. Or you can send me an email, iain.lee, iain.lee, at bbc.co.uk.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call 08453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Before the end of the show, we have got a very, very special guest coming on. A very special guest. I'm very excited by this. More on that later. Cliff's in Tipton. Morning, Cliff.
Good morning, Ian. I'm glad to hear you sounding well this morning.
I'm getting a little tickle at the back of my throat.
Oh, you little so-and-so.
Steady on. I'm worried that it's because I don't know if you heard Molly this morning spluttering away like a docker. I'm worried that somehow I've got her lurgy.
I think wasn't Danny Kelly off yesterday as well with something?
Danny Kelly wasn't particularly well yesterday. It's going around here at BBC WM 95.6. I'm only in here one day a week. I don't want to get the WM flu.
It's the revenge of Ed Doolan, I think. Anyway,
yes.
Hanging, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, go
on. There have been many mistakes over the years made. Innocent folks have been hanged, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
And, of course, once they're gone, there's no bringing them back.
That's it.
But I would like to say, those two chaps who killed the soldier in London...
Well, Cliff, we can't even go there.
No, of course not. Sorry.
It's an don't worry. It's an for those of you who think that the BBC are censoring, we're not. It's an ongoing case legally.
Okay,
we're not
then.
allowed to go. Going back to Victor Nealon, okay, he spent 16 years in prison.
Yes.
Right? He has got... Well, he's got a long list, I would imagine, of people he has every right to be angry with. The police,
exactly.
The courts, possibly some of his family and friends who turned their back on him.
Yes.
How would he go about forgiving those people, Cliff?
I think it's the same as if you come out as gay. Some of your friends will drop away, even though, before you were... they loved you and they thought highly of you. It's irrational.
Yeah.
Just because somebody else says something about you, it doesn't mean to say that it's true. But he will have an uphill struggle, and the best advice I can give him is just to take no notice and get on and make new friends. And those family and friends who have stayed with him, he should cherish them, because they know that he wasn't guilty. But it's going to be quite a struggle. And as regards compensation... Well, I don't think worshipping him as king is going to help him yet too much.
Well, neither is £500,000, is it, really?
No,
I mean,
£500,000, no.
It's not a lot.
If you were going to be heartless about it, you would say give him all his wages for 17 years, but that wouldn't compensate for the mental struggle.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
And the loss of reputation.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. We have stolen 16 years of that man's life. Stolen.
That's right. And, of course, if he goes for a job now, folks will always have that thought in their mind, even though he has been found not guilty.
Yeah, go on.
Was he? Human...
No smoke without fire.
Nature. Human nature
of course.
Is a dreadful thing.
Cliff, I appreciate your call. People will be thinking, no smoke without fire. There is no smoke, there is no fire. That man is innocent. We've stolen 16 years of his life. What should we do? Let's expand it a bit, shall we, in terms of Victor Nealon. What could we possibly do to apologise and make up for stealing 16 years of his life? Is there anything that could make up for it? 08453 009956 81333. Start your text WM.
Scores inside stoppage time.
Back Rockies,
Villa, Wolves, Blues,
Tamworth, Walsall, football news,
signing, sackings,
gossip, rumour,
and exclusive interviews.
phone-ins, rantings.
Back the board. Did you see the one he scored?
Call now.
Do your best
To get that offside off your chest.
Live matches from the ground.
Commentaries with perfect sound.
Every goal and every save.
On FM, not just medium wave.
The Voice.
The Voice.
The Voice. The Voice.
The Voice.
The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, 08453 009956. If you want to take part in the show this morning, you're more than welcome. The show only works if you call in. Now, football, of course, big currency here in the West Midlands. This morning I'm asking, will we ever achieve a healthy football rivalry which isn't plagued by hooliganism and violence? Well, extra police officers are being called onto duty today for Walsall's football derby at Shrewsbury. The extra police presence follows the violence which marred last season's League One fixture, in which 20 fans were arrested. Well, most of the men detained have since pleaded guilty to violent disorder. 7 of those received prison sentence of up to 18 months in jail. Kick-off at Greenhouse Meadow has been brought forward to 1 p.m. to reduce the amount of time that fans can drink before the game. If you're a big fan of football, if you go to football, listen, I know that football is so much better than it was in the 80s and the early 90s, OK? But there is still that intense rivalry that can sometimes boil over into violence. Why? Why is it there? Tell me, as someone who's not a football fan, I'm not a sports fan, why does what should be an excitable, healthy, friendly rivalry, why does it boil over into aggression and violence? The only game I've been to, Luton versus Millwall, oh my goodness. The chants, it was full of racist chants. I couldn't believe the stuff I was hearing. 08453 009956. Joined now by Chief Inspector Paul Moxley from West Mercia Police, the force which is leading the policing of this afternoon's match. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ian.
How do you begin to prepare for an event like this, which has a history of trouble? Because you've got to be so careful that you don't encourage trouble, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. When we start planning for this sort of event, we started planning back in September. It's key that we need to learn the lessons of last season, and we're pretty sure and confident that won't occur this season. This match will be policed with as many officers as there were last time, and we've got no particular intelligence to suggest that there is going to be as much trouble at this event. So we're as confident as we can be that we're there to police it for genuine fans, that we will deal extremely robustly with those who are intent on causing trouble. They will be locked up as they were last year, and I think it came as a huge shock to some of those individuals that they now find themselves inside prison as a result of those few moments of disorder at Shrewsbury last season.
How bad was the trouble last year, Paul? What happened?
There was some significant trouble last year, Ian. It was one of the first matches whereby Walsall had not played Shrewsbury for a number of years. So I think those who were intent on causing trouble took advantage of that. There was a significant policing presence, and that's obviously manifested itself then in the number of arrests that were undertaken, and 25, as you say, on the day, but more post the match itself. So eventually we ended up with something like 30 people on banning orders. So that's 30 individuals who loved their game of football are now banned from attending any football matches for 4 to 6 years. So that's quite a sizable number of individuals. We worked very closely with both clubs, both Walsall and Shrewsbury Town. They cooperated fully throughout, as they always do, and the CPS were particularly good in terms of making sure that we got people in front of those courts. So as I say, it's really impactful. 7 individuals went to prison as a result of a fight revolving around a football match. So my plea to people is, please come and enjoy yourselves. That's the whole idea of this event. Come and enjoy yourselves. Enjoy Shrewsbury. It's a great place to do the shopping, etc. after the football match. But don't come and cause any trouble. We will have enough officers on duty to lock up those who do.
Paul, listen, I've got to go to the travel. Are you OK for a couple of minutes? Because I'm really fascinated about this, and I want to talk to you more about the game today. Are you OK for a couple of minutes? Paul, thank you very much indeed. That's Chief Inspector Paul Moxley there from West Mercia Police. And I've got a few more questions about that. If you're going to the game today, 08453 009956. Also, if you're not going to the game today because of what happened last year, 08453 009956. Right, it's nearly 10:15 exactly. Let's get the latest travel news now. Here's Liz Saul. Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. And speaking of your football matches this afternoon, I'll bring you the match day travel in just a tick. But in Bromsgrove, the A448 is still shut in both directions. It's because of an accident which happened about 6:30 this morning. Remains closed between the A38 and the Alvechurch Highway. Recovery is still on its way to the scene, but that road has been closed for quite some time and obviously remained so. It's now getting congested on surrounding routes. The A38 close to junction 4 of the M5 through Redditch on the A441. And on the M42 as well, heavy past the Alvechurch and Redditch turns at junction 2. Further along, expect some congestion around junction 6. A couple of events going on at the NEC. In Codsall Wood, there's an accident still affecting White House Lane at the junction with Church Lane. In the centre of Birmingham, quite a few things going on. Obviously, you've got the Frankfurt Christmas market, but also there's Panto going on with the show this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Now, your match day travel. Walsall fans are off to Shrewsbury this afternoon. No problems reported on the M54, but obviously it's an early kick-off at 1 o'clock. Baggies fans are going to Cardiff. Down the M5 is also looking clear so far. And no delays reported on the main routes for Birmingham City fans going to Bournemouth, the M40, A34 or M3. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Liz, thank you very much.
Pete Morgan at breakfast.
Waking up Birmingham and the Black Country.
On Friday's programme, we were talking about minimum sentences for murder after a former soldier was killed in Yardley.
If you kill someone, then you deserve to be in jail until you die yourself.
It's life for life.
It shocks me even more. But yeah, you'd think that all of them would get the maximum sentence. Killing's killing.
We heard that speed cameras may be making a return to Birmingham and the Black Country.
They do play a valid part of the road safety mix, but the interesting thing for us, I wouldn't drive past a speed camera too fast, whether I knew it was on or off.
Pete's back on Monday when he'll be on the scrounge for help with his pensioners' party on Christmas Day.
Pete Morgan at breakfast.
Weekdays from 6.
On BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee on BBC WM 95.6. We're talking about the football game tonight. Football in general, really, but extra police officers are being called onto duty today for Walsall's football derby at Shrewsbury. I'm joined by Chief Inspector Paul Moxley from West Mercia Police. Paul, did I hear you properly? You're not taking any more extra officers than you had last year. Is that sensible after last year's incidents?
We go on intelligence and information, Ian,
right,
and that's what we must do. Obviously, we have a proportionate number of officers on duty in relation to what we're being told is or isn't going to occur. So that's what we do, and that's how we work, and that tends to work particularly well.
I'm not a sports person, Paul, but I cannot understand why people would go to a football match and then kick off, and then get violent, and then I just don't understand the mentality of these people. You've obviously met them, you've arrested them, you've been there. Why are they doing it?
It's very difficult. I think there's a lot of psychology involved. There's a lot of gang culture involved in it, and I think it's part of being part of a bigger gang, ultimately. I would actually have to say that that we are talking still about a very small percentage of people
yes,
who go and watch football and enjoy football and turn up day in, day out and support their local club. So I wouldn't want it to be blown out of all proportion. There will always be a degree of individuals who decide to use football as an excuse for violence. And that's why the police are there, and that's what we will do. And we will deal with that very, very small minority of individuals. And I do believe that over the years that we have got extremely good at dealing with that nationally and picking out those individuals and allowing those who want to go and enjoy the game just to get on and do so. And that's the key thing for us, and that's what we will always try and do.
And you're right to point that out. It's a small minority. I don't want us to be a show where we go, oh, hey, look, it's got to kick off today, there's violence everywhere. Fingers crossed it won't, and it is a small minority of people. The match time has been brought forward, hasn't it, to lessen the drinking time. Has that proven to be an effective technique in the past?
It does. It proves very effective. We work very closely with the football club itself here at Shrewsbury, and they in turn link in with the Football Association to make sure that happens. We don't want to prevent people having a drink. We accept that that's part of the culture, and that absolutely should go ahead. What we do want to try and do is to reduce the amount of alcohol that is consumed pre-match. That does have an impact on the number of individuals who decide to take the law into their own hands. So if we can reduce that with that very small minority and reduce that window of opportunity for them to consume too much, then that really does have a positive impact in the way that we can deal with individuals on the day.
You mentioned as well that some of the fans from last year's game have been banned from football matches for 4 or 5 years. How does that work? Have they got a picture of them by the turnstile?
Absolutely. Once they're banned,
Wow.
the courts will issue those individuals with specific banning notices. Those banning notices will be then passed around the individual clubs, and obviously we have what's called football spotters out, so individuals who know those individuals quite closely and work very closely with us. When Walsall come to Shrewsbury, we will have West Midlands spotters who will come and assist us to pick out those individuals. And that also bans them as well, Ian, from international matches. So those international matches coming up next year, of course, they won't be able to go to those as well. So it's a good piece of legislation, and individuals should understand the implications of not being able to go and watch any football matches whatsoever for the next 4 to 6 years.
So banned for years. Some people are in prison because of this. The message is this is taken very, very seriously.
It is. We continue to take football violence very, very seriously, as we do with any sort of violence. But when it's semi-organised, which sometimes is what this is, that's when we're able to plan appropriately. We have the resources in place. We work very closely with the clubs, and we won't tolerate it. Shrewsbury is a nice place to work and live. The football ground, is a newish ground and is an excellent place to go and watch football. We do not want Shrewsbury or any other place associated with football violence, so we will stamp down on it.
Paul, have a good and peaceful day today. Chief Inspector Paul Moxley from the West Mercia Police. A couple of things. Can anybody phone in and explain to me why people would want to kick off during a football get violent during a football match? Why? Why can't you just go and enjoy the game? Does it happen in other sports? It doesn't happen in cricket. It doesn't happen in tennis. Does it happen in rugby? That's kind of the closest equivalent. And I don't think it happens in America, does it? That doesn't happen with American football. It doesn't happen with baseball or basketball. Why football? What is it that attracts that element? And it's a small number of people. This isn't a sensationalist show where we blow things out of proportion, so please don't think it is. It's a small percentage of people. I'm betting today runs off smoothly. I'm pretty sure it will. 08453 009956. If you're going to the game today, as I know lots of you are you feeling a little bit nervous? Are you feeling a little bit anxious about it? And also, if you're not going to the game today because of the history, because of what happened last year, could you give me a call and let me know? 08453 009956. There's probably a strong chance as well, I would imagine, that some dads aren't taking their kids with them, just in case. They're pretty sure it's going to be fine, but just in case it's not. 08453 009956. Bear in mind, you're talking to a person who knows nothing about football. The only thing I know about football is how to make football better. Shall I tell you very quickly? The way to make football better, I call it super soccer or double football. Okay, this is great. You have a square pitch. You have goals on each side of the pitch. You get 4 teams playing. They still only, and each team is responsible for one goal. Okay. And for 15 minutes during the game, at random, a second ball is thrown in. Oh, wouldn't that be good? I've been sitting on this idea for years. I would love to make it happen. I just don't have the motivation. I guess, let's be honest. I don't have the motivation. But double football, super soccer, superb idea. Give us your calls on that. Not necessarily my idea, but on football in general. We're talking this morning as well about, by the way, very, very special guest coming up soon. Before the end of the show, you will not want to miss this. We're talking about Victor Neelan, jailed in 1997 for attempted rape. He got released yesterday. He's innocent. He's been proved he's innocent. So many questions. We've gone off on a little tangent about the death penalty. I'm happy to talk about that. I feel a little bit dirty for doing that. Next we'll be talking about sweets from the 70s and should we legalise cannabis. We won't be. Oh, I'm getting a dirty look now. But you can give us a call on that if you want. 08453 009956. But also Victor Neelan, he's spent 16 years. We have stolen 16 years of his life. What can we do? What can we do to say sorry to this man? Mo's in Tamworth. Morning, Mo.
Good morning, Ian.
What would you like to say, Mo?
Well, I don't know where to start, to be honest. I think this case with Victor, it's really touched me, Ian.
Tell me why.
Well, I feel let's take the judiciary out of it, because the mistakes they've made over the years is quite disgraceful, really, because they cause people to lose big chunks of their life, such as Victor now. And I've worked out that did you say Victor was 52?
He's 53 now.
Right, and he's done 17 years.
16 years, I think. Yeah, 16.
Right, so he was 35 or 36 years old when he went in.
Yeah.
He was in the prime of his life. He was a young man. And he probably had so much to look forward to. I don't know what his life was like. None of us know what his life was like at the time. But he was robbed of that, at the stroke of several pens. He was robbed of himself. Because the person he was then cannot possibly be the person he is now. He was robbed of his family. His whole life from the age of 35 has been one big steal. And how you carry on from that is completely and utterly, Iain, beyond me. The rebuilding of so much, I'm not sure it's possible. I just don't think it is possible, because he's getting on in years now, and I hope, and I'm not religious, but I hope so much and pray that he's not been too damaged, but I believe he probably was.
16 years in prison for a sexual crime.
Yeah.
We all know that people, we've all heard stories that people who've been committed of sexual crimes, they don't get treated very well in prison. They're
No.
kind of the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
We can't even begin to imagine where his head is at the moment, can we?
Exactly.
Is there anything we can do? The most compensation he'll get is £500,000.
Well, I think what might be more important than that, this might shock a few people, what might be more important than the money side of it, which he does deserve, but he needs the best help money can or can't buy. He needs constant support, and he may need psychological help. But this is one probably very damaged human being.
How does he begin to forgive, Mo? How does he forgive the police who arrested him, the judge that sentenced him, the people in prison who may have looked down on him, members of his family and friends that turned their backs on him? How can he begin to forgive them?
I haven't got an answer. In situations like this, I will try to put myself in a person's shoes, but sometimes it's just not possible, is it? How do you do that? I don't know. I think too many other things at the moment will be far more important than that. And I think as time goes on, I'm not even convinced it will get easier. I'm just not. And
This has really touched you, hasn't it, Mike? I can hear in your voice.
Yeah, it's, innocence is innocence, and you can't put a value on that, can you, Iain?
Mo, I appreciate your call. You could tell, couldn't you, from the tone of the voice, this has really touched her. We've done this to this guy. We as a country, as a nation, have stolen 16 years of his life. Is there any way we can change that? Is there anything we can do to say sorry? 08453 009956. There will be cold, hard-hearted people listening to this who think, well, hang on a second, it was a mistake, fair play. Then normally the police are pretty good, normally the courts are pretty good. What are we giving him money for? Why are we giving him money? If you believe that, do give me a call. John is in Kings Norton. Morning, John.
Morning.
John, what would you like to say?
Well, I think nobody's sort of leaned on the fact that the only reason that he got such an extended prison sentence there was because when his time was nearly up, I think he was only getting 5 years originally, and because he complained about and wanted it taken to court, because he kept pleading he was not guilty, they found him guilty again. So in effect, he had 2 or 3 cases, and the reason they sort of kept him in there then, because he lost on. If he'd have kept his mouth shut, he'd have probably only got 6 years.
But if he'd have kept his mouth shut, John, he would have been released after 6 years, if what you're saying is true. But he would still be a guilty, convicted rapist, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, but...
Wouldn't you want to clear your name?
Oh, he'd have still wanted to clear his name, there's no doubt about that. I mean, when you're found guilty of something, and to me, it puts a bad thing on the police, and they ought to investigate not only the original court case, but the ones that he brought up while he was in prison, because I mean, that's going to cost the community a lot of money to replace him, which he deserves, and he should get it. There's no question about that. I mean...
Is £500,000 enough, John? That's the most he'll get.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. I mean, I dare say, from what he sounds like like a very intelligent person. And I mean, this is the problem. I mean, he could have probably made it big in Civvy Street. Well, you know, somebody ought to look at that and judge what he would have been earning over the years and multiply that by the amount of years.
John, thanks very much for your call. 08453 009956.
Ed Doolan on a Sunday.
This Sunday, we'll be hearing from actor and panto regular Windsor Davies.
People tend to like their situation comedy, I think, in a room, you know.
I know what it is like to do a TV series which is a secret. And some comedy from the great Alan Sherman.
A statue of a lady with a clock where her stomach ought to be.
Join me this Sunday from 12 noon.
On BBC WM 95.6.
Now, the reason I like Ed Doolan so much, one of the many reasons, is because he constantly has people on who go, I thought they were dead. I thought Windsor Davies was dead. This is incredible news. We can celebrate. You lovely boy. He's alive and well. Well, isn't that fantastic news? 08453 009956. This morning, we're asking, why does football hooliganism still exist? What is the mentality of someone to go to a football match and to start a fight, to go and be a bit racist, to go and be obnoxious, to go and kick someone in? Will we ever achieve a healthy football rivalry which isn't plagued by hooliganism and violence? It's a tiny, tiny percentage of people, OK? I want to make that clear. I know it's not widespread, particularly anymore, like it was in the 80s, the horrible 80s. But it's still there. There's still that element. 08453 009956. If you've been to football matches, have you picked up on it? Have you seen it? Have you felt that tension? Have you heard those horrible chants? We're talking about it because extra police officers are being sent to Walsall's away fixture at Shrewsbury this afternoon. It follows disruption at last year's fixture, which led to 7 Walsall fans being jailed. Well, my next guest has published his biography this year, revealing his past as a football hooligan. Barrington Patterson, a.k.a. One-Eyed Baz, is a Birmingham City fan who is a member of the notorious Zulus. Good morning, Barrington.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Tell me about the Zulus.
Well, the Zulus, we follow Birmingham City. Yeah, we were formed in, 1983, 85. And that's it.
And what did the Zulus get up to?
Well, we got up to we just went, we're close to the community as well. Birmingham community. We would just go to football match, fight to football matches.
But you wouldn't just go to football matches and enjoy the football match, would you?
Well, me personally,
yeah.
at that time when I first started out, I weren't interested in the football at all.
So
I just wanted to fight.
So why would you... Explain to me why, Barrington. I've got no idea the psychology behind this. Tell me why you just wanted to fight and why you chose football matches to use that as your arena.
That's just the way I was brought up. Like, hanging around town, and we started going down the blues. And when I first started going down, the blues 83, I just got the buzz of it straight away. And because of my fighting career as well, all I just wanted to do was fight. Every weekend, I just wanted to fight.
So were you a boxer?
A kickboxer.
Kickboxer. Oh, blimey, OK. Now, you used an interesting word there, the buzz of it. What was the buzz of getting into a fight at a football match?
Well, especially an away game. Away game was like getting up on Saturday morning and, just getting ready, meeting the lads on the town, catching the train or driving to whatever town or city we're going to, and going to that city or going to that town and just taking the mickey for the day, enjoying ourselves for the day.
But there's a difference, isn't there, between taking the mickey and kicking someone's head in?
Yeah, but it's like kicking anyone's. When people talk about football, people outside football, hooliganism talk about football, they think we just go and attack anybody. It's not like that. Just because someone's wearing a different colour scarf, we know who we're looking for.
Well, who were you looking for?
They're lads.
What do you mean by... So, listen, I know nothing about sport, Barrington, so you're going to need to speak to me like I'm an idiot, because in many ways I am. What do you mean they're lads? Who are their lads?
They're lads, they're firm.
So they're a team of thugs as well?
Yeah, their team of
So you're saying you wouldn't attack, your average punter in a football match. You would go and attack people who you knew were up for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That sounds insane.
You don't know that's just the way it is. You don't know these lads personally, but you will know who they are. By the time it comes to the football match, you will know who they are. And
what kind of stuff? What kind of violence did you get up to then? What did you do?
Me, I'm not into the weapons and all. I'm just into fist and feet.
Right.
Guys. You got guys that bring weapons and fight with weapons. I've never been into weapons. I'm just a fist and feet man.
Okay. And does that make it better?
It makes it better for me. Because the thing like people go out and get worried about getting stabbed and getting kicked on the floor and stamped on. It bothers me and. Well, that's just the way.
So you wouldn't carry weapons, but you would use your fists and feet. And I mean, how badly did you beat people up? What did you do?
When someone goes down, that's me. I would stop them, but I'd bash them. I'd beat the head off them. When you're standing, I'd bash the head off you.
I'm quite shocked by this. So you if they were standing, you'd bash them, you'd beat the head off them, and as soon as they went down, that was it, you'd stop?
Yeah, then just move on to the next one.
And how many of you were there doing this? What was your little gang?
Sometimes like 400 to 500 strong lads who were up for it. You got to matches nowadays, you get these guys shouting, stand, 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 and running the opposite way. These, 400 or 500 lads are strong, they were really up for it.
What did you feel like when you were doing this?
I just felt good. I'm one of the lads. I'm Birmingham City. We're the Zulus. That's the only thing that was going through my head. We're Birmingham. We're the Zulus. When people think about the Zulus, they think, oh, well, it's a black thing. It's Zulus. It's a multiracial thing. I've been to football matches and you get some fans, niggers or packies or that.
All right, I should say, I know this is in context, Barrington, but we've got young ears, so let's just be careful. That's two category Bs, but
yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. But apologies to anyone who's offended by that. I know we've got young ears. There won't be any more of that, I promise. Right, carry on.
Yeah, you get a lot of people shouting racist slogans and chants and things like that. It's in football and it's not going to stop. But personally, if I'm in Birmingham City and I hear anyone shouting something like that, I'll turn around and bash it up them.
So you'd still give someone a smack?
Yes, if they're shouting something like that, yes.
Do you not realise that that's really inappropriate and is intimidating for other people and sometimes
don't they realise that's a racist comment towards
people? Of course, but you could turn around and say, oi, mate, can you stop that, please? But to turn around and smash someone in the face, there are kids at these matches, Barrington.
I understand where you're coming from. There is kids there. A lot of people get caught in fights when fights happen. I feel sorry for them people.
But Barrington, there are kids. There are young kids there with their dad, and yet you're still prepared to expose them to violence. Do you think that's all right?
I was at the time, yes. Not now, no. I was at the time. I didn't think about that at the time. I just thought about fighting.
What did your family think? Was your mum alive at the time?
Yes, she's still alive now, yes.
What did your mum think about all of this?
Well, she didn't know, didn't her?
So she never suspected anything? You come home with bruised knuckles, maybe a cut and a scratch and stuff. She never said, Barrington, what are you doing?
No.
Does she know now? She must know now.
Yeah, she knows now. Yeah, she knows now.
Has she given you a right telling off?
She always does.
Good.
All the time.
Good. What made you see the error of your ways?
I retired from fighting 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got quite a few things going for me now, and I thought, I've got to turn my life around. I can't be seen as a football thug anymore, because I want to do things for, unprivileged kids and the sort of kids and things. I do a lot of things for charity. And, like I said, I've just done a film with Richard Blackwood and with Cass Pennington and all that, and I've got some good things going for me now, so I just need to keep out of trouble.
When was the last time you got into a fight?
Actual fight? I think about 4 years ago.
Okay. You got a book out? What's the book called?
The book is called, it's an autobiography called One Eye Baz.
And on the wider subject of violence in football, Barrington, do you think we can ever get away from it completely?
Not completely, no.
That's depressing, isn't it?
It is. But, like I said, the biggest firm out there are the police. They've got the biggest firm out there. And, we'll never beat them. People will try, but they'll never beat them.
Why would you want to beat the police? Aren't they on our side? No. Tell me more.
Come on. I can't say too much. Of course, I'm a reformed character now, so I can't really say too much. I don't especially like on air. But with me, I don't think the police are doing anything to help the situation at all. The police are just the biggest thugs out there, to tell the truth.
Well, even now, in 2013, we've got a load of police...
Even now.
We've got a load of police going to the football match today to keep the peace, to arrest people like you 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good thing to me.
It sounds like a good thing, but like I tried to explain, the police are just as much thugs as we are. They're no better.
Barrington, listen, I've got to end it there. Fascinating. Dare I say it, shocking. Again, apologies. 2 category Bs in there. A little bit of naughty language, and I don't encourage it. We certainly don't condone it here. And if you've got young ears listening, or if you were in any way offended, you have mine and the BBC's sincerest apologies. But I think when it was a very frank and open conversation. I wasn't particularly shocked by the language. I was more shocked by the story. Wow. OK, you're a football fan. You're a parent. You just heard what Barrington Patterson had to say there. Does it shock you? Make you think differently about taking your kids to the football match? 08453 00 9956. Now, we've been talking all morning about this incredible case. Victor Neelan, jailed in 1997 for attempted rape. He was released yesterday because it turns out he was innocent. Well, forgiveness comes up, doesn't it? Victor has a lot of people that I would suggest he needs, or it would be ideal if he could forgive. The police, the courts, family and friends who've turned their back on him. How do you go around forgiving people? Emma's in Coventry. Good morning, Emma.
Hi, Ian.
Emma, thanks for calling in. You've had to forgive people, haven't you?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
8 years ago, I was 29, and I actually got raped, and I was raped by 3 men. I don't know who the people were, but I've forgiven them.
Again, bearing in mind we have young ears listening, so let's not go into too many graphic details, but where did this happen?
Right, it was actually in a park, and I was drunk, and I actually split up with my boyfriend and decided to go out and just walked, and I went across the park, and I knew that then that I was bothered by 3 men.
Did they ever get convicted?
No, because I didn't actually tell anybody for a whole year what happened to me.
Why not?
Because I blamed myself for it then. Because I was drunk, it was late at night, so I blame myself for it. I don't blame myself now, but I did at the time. And when I eventually did tell, then I went to Crasac, and I think it was about five years later that I had the courage to actually go and talk to the police about it.
I'm assuming it was too late for the police to do anything, is that right?
Yeah, to me it was just closure, because there was things that, because I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder now, so to me I just wanted to see if I could do the closure, because there was always bits that were still hanging, and one of them was about women as well, like could someone else have that happened to, and I never told anyone.
Did you say, Emma, you've managed to forgive the people who attacked you?
Yes.
How on earth did you get to that place? How did you do that?
Because it was eating so much inside me, and I was drinking a lot and suicidal as well, and I was just getting down and down and down. In fact, it was just like, I can't cope with this. And in the end, I just decided that I have to let go. All that hurt and all that anger has got to go. And I forgave them. I think, in a way, it may have been easier for me because I didn't even know who the people were, whereas people might actually know who they were. So, but it has helped me a lot.
Emma, appreciate your call and your honesty this morning. It's one of the amazing things about doing a job like this. You get honest calls like that. Thank you very much. 08453 009956. Right, where are we? It's 10:45, nearly 10:46. Let's get the travel. Let's go over to Liz. Liz, what's happening?
Well, Ian, still problems in Bromsgrove with the closure of the A448 both ways between the A38 and Alvechurch Highway. Traffic is rather congested approaching the closure points and on the surrounding routes, the A38, the A441 and the M42 by Junction 2, all rather heavy and congested. The M6 is struggling both ways, 7 to 5. That's between the A34 and Castle Bromwich. Still this accident in Codsall Wood on White House Lane at Church Lane, causing you a bit of disruption. You're having to squeeze by there. Busy into Birmingham now through Selly Oak, Handsworth and Kings Heath, and as you head along New John Street towards the A34 Newtown Row. Your match day travel sees Birmingham City fans heading to Bournemouth. It is a 3-hour journey, although it's a 3 o'clock kick-off, but down the M40, A34 and the M3 all looking clear so far. Baggies fans are off to Cardiff. No delays reported down the M5 and onto the M4 and over the Welsh border. Walsall fans, slightly smaller journey to Shrewsbury, but of course it is a 1 o'clock kick-off there. Down the M54 is looking fine so far. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Liz, I got some bad news.
Really?
Yeah. Earlier on we were celebrating the fact that Winter Davis was on the Ed Doolan show. Winter Davis is alive!
Yes?
Yeah, he's not. He died in 2004.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I know.
That would have been quite impressive,
Wouldn't
like
it?
a séance or something.
Yes. There's a chat show format in that somewhere, isn't there? All sat around the Ouija board. Anyway, Winter Davis passed away in 2004, so all of you are thinking of...
So it's the best of Ed Doolan kind of thing.
It's that kind of thing, yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
Liz, thank you very much.
This just coming into us here on BBC WM.
What's your take on it then?
Breaking news from down your road.
Scandals in your postal code. Crime, corruption,
Train disruption.
just because it nearly snowed.
Passion callers vent their spleen.
Live reporters on the scene.
Email.
Text.
Have your say.
More on that throughout the day.
Weekday mornings.
Big debates. Opinions to articulate.
Afternoons, fun and chat.
Place and tunes.
To the facts.
Guests and personalities from all of our communities.
If you love where you live,
It's you we should be talking with.
the voice.
The voice.
The voice. The voice.
The voice.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM 95.6.
Morning. This is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6 here every Saturday between 9 and 12. Daz, of course, will be taking over at midday. If you want to give me a call, you can do. Lots we're talking about. Football violence, football hooliganism. Incredible interview there about 10 minutes ago with Barrington Patterson, One-Eyed Baz, Birmingham City fan who was involved in violence. Don't worry, he didn't take weapons. He'd only use his fists and his feet. He was a trained kickboxer. Yes, he'd kick your head in, but once you're on the floor, that was it. He'd stop. He kind of blames the police for the problem as well. I found that shocking. 08453 009956. The other story we're talking about, and this is kind of what's interesting, talking about Victor Neelam, a Redditch man who was released from prison yesterday after serving 16 years for a rape that he didn't commit. And this is kind of shot off in so many different directions. Talking about bringing back the death penalty, talking about forgiveness, And also talking about being wrongly accused of things. 08453 00 9956. Matt's in Solihull. Matt, what's your take on this?
Hello there, how are you getting on?
Very well, thank you, Matt.
I didn't think there was a man on this earth that didn't go to football matches.
I don't get...
me, myself, I actually hate football.
I don't like football either, Matt. I like playing FIFA on the Xbox, but actually watching football, I just don't get it. It's silly.
I don't get it at all, and I did play it one time, but for the simple, they're overpaid. And their names, they're not English people either. They're foreigners. I mean, really, if they were all English that was playing, I think I might watch them. But I'm not going to watch somebody that's getting £500,000 to play.
Why would
football.
it make a difference if they were English? Because certainly wouldn't change it for me.
Well, if they were English and not overpaid, I might be willing to watch,
I'm noticing that you've not got a particularly strong English accent, have you?
No, I'm an ex-paddy, but I'm in this country longer than you are.
So you're a foreigner?
I'm 68 years here.
Congratulations, well done.
And I never went back. But we'll get back to that man that was sentenced to this 17 years.
Victor Neelan, yes.
It depends on the part of England you were sentenced in. For instance, if you were a Brummie or you're a paddy and you live in Birmingham and you are sentenced in Solihull, they'll look down at you as if you're just nobody, only scum, you know that?
Oh.
That is Solihull again, Birmingham. I should know that, really, because I was framed for careless driving Stockfield Road years ago, and the case come up in Solihull, and naturally I was convicted through lies that was told by ex-people, I won't say who, that said they seen something happening that they didn't. But I got penalty points and 5, and then I appealed and I went to Warwick. But I did eventually get some of the penalty points taken off on Warwick, and I think got some of the fine. I wasn't satisfied, so naturally I went to the High Court in London. No solicitor or nothing, and it was a lovely experience. And that's that, but it depends.
Were you found not guilty in the end, Matt?
No, I was found not guilty in the end. Yes.
Okay, so you were stitched up and framed. How did that feel? That must have been very frustrating.
Well, a person concerned in the stitch up had a shop in Stockfield Road, and he was put there to buy stolen gear and get the people done that was selling it and all that. But he said he seen me travelling close to the other vehicle, which was a lie because he couldn't at all, except he was out standing on the footpath. He said he was in his shop looking out. He was telling lies. He just went and told them lies on me, you see. But it was proved eventually that he was a liar, you see.
What can we do for Victor Neelan to say sorry, Matt?
I don't know. You see, money isn't it all. He might go mad with the money and drink it and turn into an alcoholic. It's very, very hard, even if he's an educated man, he can slip up being housed so long. I mean, there was a lot of miscarriage and injustice here and in other countries as well. But take Evans in London, the time with Christie. Evans was hung in the wrong. I don't know whether you remember that or not.
I don't remember. I've heard legend of it. Matt, I've got to move on because I want to squeeze in a couple of guests before 11 o'clock. Wow, Matt, thank you very much indeed. He was stitched up. He was framed. 08453 00 9956.
Pensnet, Rugeley, Redditch,
Rowley Regis. Have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM.
Now,
95.6.
There are other football matches going on today. It's an exciting day for lots of people. The dreams of 5 West Midlands football teams will come true today when they get to step out on the hallowed turf of Wembley. The pitch will be a little bit smaller than usual as the FA is hosting the finals of this year's 5-a-side tournament. Well, I can speak now to two of the players. We're joined by Andy Bishop from Great Bar, the goalkeeper from the Hurricanes, and Masood Ajaib is from the Birmingham Futsal Squad. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Andy, we'll start with you first of all. Is it right you didn't concede a single goal in the 8 matches in the regional qualifiers?
Yeah, that's right. We're the first team to ever do that at any regionals, apparently, throughout the whole of the country for as long as the tournament's been running.
Well, that must be very exciting then to have that wonderful record.
It is, yeah. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. I mean, I'm the goalkeeper myself, so I take a lot of credit.
Oh, here we... It was all down to you, Andy, not those other slackers.
No, it was a total team effort. We all worked hard on the day, and we deserve to be here. So hopefully we'll achieve the same feat again today.
Here's a question, Andy. As a goalkeeper, you know when the ball's right at the other end of the pitch and there's no chance of it coming to you?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you like thinking about Christmas shopping, when you're going to see the missus?
No, I'm totally focused. I mean, even when the ball's at the other end of the pitch, obviously I can see all the play that's going on. So it's my job to shout at my strikers, shout at my defenders, tell them exactly where they need to be, and just basically help them out. If people are running behind them that they can't see, tell them where to be, and yeah. So I still have a lot to do even when I'm not saving shots. So no, I'm fully focused.
Okay, I believe you, Masood. You must be very excited playing at Wembley.
We are, yes. It's quite an experience. No, not many of our players have actually been here before, even just to watch a game, let alone playing on the pitch itself.
How have you prepared for the big day?
Late nights, that kind of thing, as you do.
What? Drinking?
No. Well, a few of the lads have been out pretty late, but I think we're pretty much ready for it. The thing is, we play futsal anyway. So we were training on Friday morning, which is a day we normally train anyway.
So hang on, what's futsal?
Futsal is basically I guess it's the FAE-approved five-side version of the game. It originated from South America, Spain. It's that's the game they play in them sort of continents prior to playing football. They sort of start off playing futsal, and until the age of 14. They'll continue to play futsal, and then they'll be allowed to get onto the 11-a-side pitch.
Because, Andy, let's be honest, five-a-side football, it's not proper football, is it?
It's harder than proper football, mate.
Tell me why.
Well, basically, on 11-a-side, this is my opinion, but on an 11-a-side pitch, obviously, you've got a lot of space, you've got a lot more time. If your first touch isn't particularly that great, you know, there's still enough space, enough time to recover. On five-a-side, especially at the level that we're going to be playing at today, if you haven't got a first touch, the other team got the ball and they've got a shot on goal. Pitch is smaller, so there's always more shots, always more chances created. You've got to be more precise because you've got less space to pass the ball into. You've got less time. There's always somebody on you straight away. You're marked from the start. So, in my opinion, you've got to be technically a lot better to play at five-a-side. If you can play five-a-side at this level, in my opinion, you should be able to play decently on 11-a-side. I think it's a lot harder to come off an 11-a-side pitch onto a five-a-side pitch and play as well.
Masood, have you got lots of friends and family going down with you to cheer you on?
Yeah, a few of the lads have brought friends and family around. We've got a few more coming over when kick-off starts about 2 o'clock. So, yeah, it should be fun.
So are you at Wembley now?
Yes, we are, yeah.
What does it feel like? It must be. Are you excited now, or is it too early to get excited?
Yeah, it is quite. I guess you get the jitters kind of thing. But yeah, it's very exciting. The boys are sort of at the pitch at the moment, having a walk around, taking it all in, and sort of experiencing the whole day, really.
Now, how is the day going to work? Is there a chance that your two teams might play each other?
Well, we're in the same. I don't think we're in the same pot, so. I guess there might be a possibility. I guess it all depends. Top two go through. Depending whether you finish top or second, then there might be a chance of us meeting. Otherwise, but we did play each other in the regionals in Midlands actually.
Go on. Who won?
Well, we put one extra past Andy than what they did. So, but to be fair to him, he kept all the players out, and it's the goalkeeper that actually beat him in goals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Andy, I didn't. I do apologise, Andy. I didn't realise that Masood was your nemesis, was one of your enemies.
Yeah, they unfortunately they beat us in the final on penalties. So, but yeah, it was a good game. To be honest, they probably deserved to win the match in open play, but I kept them out. So I'll be looking to do the same again today.
Right, who's going to win? Andy, we'll start with you. Who's going to win today?
No brainer, of course, Hurricanes.
Masood, what do you reckon?
I'm going to be supporting the Hurricanes too.
Wow. Good for you. Listen, chaps, enjoy the day. It's going to be a fantastic experience, so have a great day.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Lovely to speak to both of you. Well, there you go. Wonderful. Andy Bishop, Goalkeeper from the Hurricanes, Masood Ajib from the Birmingham Futsal. I've never even heard of football. No, I've heard of football. Futsal, hang on a second. I know, don't. I think I'm getting Molly's cold. My throat's starting to tighten up. Right, 08453 009956 is the phone number. Forgiveness, compensation, football hooliganism. And also, in the last hour of the show, we have got a cracking... One of the most famous men in the world will be on before midday. I know, very, very exciting. iain.lee@bbc.co.uk.
Waking up the West Midlands with the latest news, sport, weather and travel updates. Pete Morgan at Breakfast is back Monday morning from 6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
Right, it's 11 o'clock exactly. Let's get the news now. Here's Kevin Pashby.
Good morning. A Redditch man is thinking of suing for compensation after he was freed yesterday after he spent 17 years jailed for attempted rape. The Court of Appeal quashed Victor Neelan's conviction after 3 judges raised doubts about the DNA evidence used to convict him. The court heard crucial DNA samples from the victim's clothes weren't tested until more than a decade after he was jailed. He's always denied attempted rape and has made numerous attempts to be released. His lawyer is Mark Newby.
Well, Victor needs some time. He needs some time to reintroduce himself to a world that he was absented from 17 years ago. He needs to consider next year, obviously, whether he can bring a claim to compensation and what actions he can bring as a result. And then those that were involved in this miscarriage of justice need to consider what lessons they can learn from it.
Nelson Mandela's beginning the last leg of his journey to his final resting place. A plane carrying his coffin has left an Air Force base near the South African capital Pretoria, heading for the Eastern Cape. Mr Mandela will be buried in his childhood village of Kunu tomorrow. A Birmingham MP could be investigated by police after he referred to a postal worker as the Pikey on Twitter. The Labour Erdington MP Jack Dromey quickly posted another tweet to say he was referring to the Dad's Army character Frank Pike. But David Morris, a Tory MP for Morecambe, has written to the Met Police claiming it could be an incident that may constitute incitement to racial hatred. Police in Northern Ireland say a bomb which was detonated in the centre of Belfast last night had the potential to kill or cause serious injury. It exploded in the Cathedral Quarter, which is popular for its bars and restaurants. A warning was received, but the wrong location was given for the bomb. Dissident Republicans are being blamed. Martin O'Mula is the Lord Mayor of Belfast.
This is an attack on the community of Belfast. It's an attack on the city of Belfast. It's an attack on Christmas. But I think our response is that we will continue to love our city, to build our city, to enjoy our city. And we hope to do that with all our friends.
Sports news now, and in cricket, England are struggling in the third Ashes test in Perth. They were 180 for 4 at the end of day 2, trailing the Australians by 205 runs. Walsall make the short trip to Shrewsbury for the first of 2 FM commentaries here on BBC WM today from 1 o'clock, with the build-up starting at midday. West Bromwich Albion are away at Cardiff City. There'll also be commentary on that game later. Wolves are home to Milton Keynes Dons. Birmingham City have made the long journey to Bournemouth as they try to extend their unbeaten run in the Championship to 6 matches. The manager Lee Clark says he and his opposite number Eddie Howe have a similar philosophy on a style of play.
We want exciting attacking players. We want to go and win the game. We want to be solid. I think all managers enjoy it when they get a clean sheet. They enjoy it for their defenders because that's what they work hard for all week. But certainly when it's about scoring goals, which is a plus point for us, because obviously at the start of the season there was 1 or 2 questions whether we were scoring enough goals, but we certainly are at this moment in time.
And there'll be commentary on our DAB channel in Birmingham of that game from 3 this afternoon. Taking a look at the weather then, dry to start with sunny spells today, turning wet and windy later with some heavy rain this afternoon. Highs of 11 Celsius, that's 52 Fahrenheit. Staying wet and windy tonight, overnight lows down to 2 Celsius, 36 Fahrenheit. Sunday's looking dry in the morning with showers in the afternoon. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
They have kids and they want somebody else to keep them.
Social services shouldn't exist.
I know quite a few people that have had pay cuts in their wages just to hang on to their job.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6, here every Saturday between 9 and 12. It's been busy on the phones this morning. Another hour of the show. If you want to come on, I suggest you give us a call sharpish. We've got a couple of lines free now, 08453 009956. And the great thing I find about doing this show is it's a complete scattergun. There are so many different things we're talking about. One of the stories we're talking about is this gentleman sentenced to 16 years in prison for a rape. Victor Neelan was jailed in 1997. He got released yesterday. He didn't do it. He's completely innocent. So many different things to talk about there. How do you go about forgiving people? Amazing call from Emma, who was attacked about 8 years ago, and she has forgiven the rapists who attacked her. When have you had to forgive people? How have you done it? I would imagine if you have some form of religious faith, it would be easier to do it. But if you don't have that faith, how difficult is it? 08453 009956. Also, what possible compensation can we give to Victor Neelan to say sorry for stealing 16 years of his life? He also talks about the death penalty as well. It doesn't work, and anyone who believes it does work is an idiot. It cannot work. 08453 009956. Football violence. Big match today. There's a chance that you may or may not be going to it because of what happened a year ago. Have you seen football violence? Have you taken part in it? Are you reluctant to take your kids to some matches because of what might happen? 08453 009956. Coming up, we'll be talking to a woman who's going to bury her husband in her back garden. Oh my goodness gracious me.
Have your say. Across the West Midlands, call 08453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Got some texts. Let me do some texts. I'm way behind on these. 81333. Start your text. Ian, it's Ian Brady, not Huntley, who's the other one was murder. Vince? Yes, I know. We were talking about Ian Huntley because we mentioned the Sower murders, and I think that's what we were talking about then. Steve says, Ian, you are a very insensitive man saying people who want the death penalty back are stupid. What about the families of the victims? April Jones, James Bolger, Millie Dowler, the Hindley and Brady victims, Ian Huntley's two victims. I bet their parents and family would like to see them hang. But to say that they're stupid is very insensitive. Oh, a load more text. Thank you. To say they're stupid is very insensitive. No wonder criminals laugh at the justice system. Everyone, it seems, is on their side using the old excuse human rights. Steve, I've not mentioned human rights once. Only the right, I suppose, of people who have been convicted of crimes that they did not commit. Animosa, I didn't think attempted rape could attract the death sentence. Yes, you're probably right. Julia, if you say no to the death penalty, we can't talk about that. That's an ongoing case, you silly sausage. Can you stop saying he would have been killed? Attempted rape wouldn't warrant hanging. He did 16 years because he maintained his innocence, not because of the sentence, says Tricky and Mosley. Oh, that makes it okay. That makes it okay that he was in prison for 16 years because the only reason he stayed in prison for 16 years was because he kept maintaining his innocence. Oh, that's okay then. No, that's fine. In that case, just lock him up for another 16 years. Why not? Bilston Baggy. Let's not forget James Hamratty, who was hanged. Years later, it was proved he was innocent. They didn't hang people for rape, did they? No, well done for pointing that out. Ian, the death penalty couldn't work because even DNA testing, it's not 100%, so it's impossible to know for sure. This is Dave. Thank you for your assertion that the death penalty is ridiculous. I've been saying this for years and years, and I've always been called soft for it. The death penalty cannot ever work. There's a load more texts. I'll do some more of these in a minute, because I do like getting your texts. I prefer your phone calls, if I'm completely honest. I prefer the phone calls. 08453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. Here every Saturday morning between 9 and 12 if you want to give me a call. Now, this morning, I'm taking your calls as well on violence in football. Extra police are on duty at Walsall's away match this afternoon at Shrewsbury after violence at last season's fixture resulted in 7 Saddlers fans being given jail sentences. So why does violence still plague our local club rivalries in the West Midlands? Why can't it just be a healthy competition? Fascinating conversation about 40 minutes ago with an ex-football hooligan. Well, earlier this morning before the show, I spoke to Steve Davis, not that one. He's the secretary of the Walsall Supporters Trust. I asked him if he's concerned he could see a repeat of last season.
Well, I think there's going to be less Walsall fans there this year. Last year was the first ever time that we'd visited that new ground, so there was traditionally more fans travel to new grounds. But it's our local trip, so it's always on the mind.
Now, before last season's fixture, you did actually liaise, didn't you, with the Shrewsbury Supporters Trust?
Yeah, myself and Aid Plymouth had a chat, and we also had a chat after before the game at Walsall as well.
And what exactly did he say? What point were you trying to make?
Well, it was just a case of Shrewsbury have meetings with their police, their trust. So we just had a chat about what we could do really to stop these things happening again.
And is there anything practically you can do? Because it's just idiots, isn't it? And there's nothing you can do to stop idiots, is there?
In fairness, no. I mean, I've just had a look on Facebook, and there's people on the ale already before they get to the match, and to me, it's absolutely unheard of to be drinking at this time of the morning. And I think a lot of it is drink fueled.
So hang on a second. We are recording this interview at 8:25 on the Saturday morning, and there are people on Facebook saying that they're drinking already.
Absolutely.
Are they suggesting that they might be going there to cause trouble?
No, they're not suggesting that they're going to cause trouble, but say this is the traditional trip for Walsall fans. If Walsall fans do one away match a year,
yeah,
it's Shrewsbury, and people tend to come out of the woodwork for this match.
Headlines of 7 fans being jailed must be frustrating, mustn't it, to see your club's name dragged through the courts and through the papers like that?
It's very frustrating because at the end of the day, all it does is cost the football club more money in policing. And I attended a meeting this week with the club, as we do every 2 months. And we've actually had some good news because after last year's problems, we had to have more games policed this year, which obviously puts quite a lot extra money onto the budget for the year and takes it away from areas that's needed. Up to so far today, the good news is that Walsall fans' behaviour at home has been impeccable, and they've actually got 2 less policing games in the new year.
Well, that's good news. Football thuggery, to me, is such an 80s concept. Why do we still have it in 2013?
If I knew that, I wouldn't be working in a factory.
Yeah.
I'd be working somewhere with psychologists and sports psychologists and everything else.
I've only... listen, Steve, I'm not a huge football fan. I've only ever been to one football match, and there was a real kind of tension in the air. Can we expect something like that today?
I think there'll be a lot of banter. There will be a lot of banter between the fans, but... 99% of football fans are genuine, nice, normal people, and they'll have a crack. They'll go there, they'll support the team, and they'll enjoy the day.
Mm.
But it's indicative of society. I think that there's always the 1%.
What's your message, finally, Steve, to anybody who's thinking of going and causing trouble?
Don't do it. Every time there's an arrest, it costs the football club money, and we're a small club, we're on a small budget, and every penny that goes in policing is taken away from an area where the money's really needed.
Steve, I hope it goes smoothly, and I hope it's all good news. Thanks very much for your time.
3 points, please, Ian.
We'll see what we can do. I got the football joke he was making. He was making a football joke, and I got it. That was Steve Davis, the secretary of the Walsall Supporters Trust, speaking to me earlier this morning. If you're going to the match this morning, how are you feeling about it? I think it's going to be fine. Quite often when these matches are hyped up as much as this, generally it's fine. I suspect it will be fine today. But are you feeling a little bit reticent? Or have you not gone to the match today because of what happened a year ago? You just think, do you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. 08453 00 9956. John is in Redditch. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
John, what would you like to say?
Well, you just had I think you could have received a text off someone quoting James Hanratty. He was hung.
Oh, yes.
Was found innocent. He wasn't found innocent at all. They got it totally wrong. The guy was as guilty as sin. He was exhumed around about 8 or 9 years ago, and DNA evidence proved it was the only man that could have done it. And I've got it in front of me now. I've just called it up on Google, and it just says DNA tests show Hanratty was guilty. He wasn't innocent. I thought he was innocent, but he wasn't. I said he was exhumed 8 or 9 years ago. I can't quite find the date, so I'm afraid
Listen, John, thank you very much for clearing that. Bringing this up to date, Victor Neelan, jailed for 16 years for a crime he didn't commit. Is there anything... What can we do as a society to apologise, to make up for this?
The only thing that you can do, and apologies isn't no, but the only thing left open to him is financial compensation for all the loss of earnings. He's probably lost his home that he could have bought and paid for by now. his life in general. That's the only way.
The most he can get, John, is £500,000.
Nowhere near enough. I think it's disgraceful. £500,000, absolutely disgraceful. If he could have been on, £30,000 or £40,000 a year. Could have been. It doesn't compensate for the torment of being, banged away for the last 16, 17 years, locked in a cell for something he was innocent of. It's scandalous. £500,000. It's got to be a minimum of double that. But hey, that's the cap. That's the cap. It's up to him and his legal team to fight for more. Whether they'll get more, well, it's just for them to see. But no, that's the only way he can be compensated is cash. No other compensation could be good. Apologies, no good. Too late. He needs to rebuild his life financially, if nothing else.
John, thank you very much indeed. Ed in Alton has texted in, the compost should be £1 million for every year of a person's life. 08453 009956. If you want to get in touch, I suggest you do it very soon because we've got 45 minutes of the show left. We've got one of the most famous men in the world is coming on this show before midday. And also the incredible story of a woman who's, she's burying her husband in the back garden. Right now, though, let's get the latest travel news. Here's Liz.
Iain, in Bromsgrove, the A448 is still shut in both directions because of an accident between the A38 and Alvechurch Highway. It's closed off from the slideshow roundabout to the Batchley turn-off as recovery work gets underway. Police tell us it's likely to be closed for a little while longer yet. It has been closed for nearly 5 hours now. Surrounding routes are all rather congested, as you might expect, the A38, A441. And as you head to Tutnell, it's rather slow going in roadworks on Hewell Lane, the junction with Stoney Lane. Heavy going in Solihull, a lot of Christmas shopping traffic on Prince's Way around Streetsbrooks Road and Station Road. There's still an accident in Codsall Wood affecting White House Lane at the junction with Church Lane. The M6 is rather slow both ways through the Birmingham turns between junctions 5 and 7, Castle Bromwich to Great Bar. Routes into Birmingham rather busy now. A lot of events going on, the Frankfurt Christmas Market and various matinee events at the theatres and pantos as well. Your match day travel sees Birmingham City fans heading to Bournemouth for 3 o'clock kick-off. No problems reported as you head further along, but the southbound M40 is blocked by junction 9 because of an accident. So if you are just setting off, you might want to get a bit of a move on. West Bromwich fans are heading to Cardiff, the M5 looking OK. And the early kick-off at 1 o'clock sees Walsall fans going to Shrewsbury, but it's a clear run so far on the M54. If you can update us, 08453 0022 88.
Liz, I'm all set for Christmas. I'm done.
Are you?
I've done all my shopping.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
oh, gosh, that's far too organised.
Really? You're one of them ladies I've heard so much about. Surely you should have finished it by the end of October.
Oh, no, not at all. I leave it to the... I'm not a typical woman. You'll learn this. I don't really do shopping. So, I mean, I've done some of it online, and because it was Hanukkah a few weeks ago, so I've done that bit.
Right, okay.
But I've only written 3 Christmas cards, and I haven't finished the
shopping.
No.
No. Christmas cards are the great con of the last century. Never buy a Christmas card.
The thing is, the only reason I've written them is because they had to go abroad. So those members of the family are not getting presents. They're just getting cards.
You're weird, aren't you?
Well, I'm not going. It's very expensive to send. I'll wait till I see them, you see. But I'm at least sending them a card.
So you've not done any of your shopping yet?
Well, I bought a couple of bits.
Okay.
But it's only because I'm seeing some people on Sunday, as in tomorrow.
I finished my Christmas.
Sure, you're not a woman in disguise.
Well, only at weekends. Only at weekends.
The Ed Doolan Christmas Show 2013,
starring Richard and Adam from Britain's Got Talent.
BBC Big Band, Black Country comedian Doug Parker,
winner of BBC One's The Voice, Andrea Begley,
the cast of Ghost the Musical,
opera singer and Britain's Got Talent winner Paul Potts.
Tickets are £4 plus the transaction fee. Available from the box office or call 0121 345 0603.
Join BBC WM on December the 19th from 11 a.m. at Birmingham's Symphony Hall.
The Ed Doolan Christmas Show 2013.
Tickets on sale now.
08453 009956 is the telephone number. In a few minutes, we're going to be hearing an incredible story about a woman who, she wants to bury him in the back garden. He is dead, by the way, don't you know? But she wants to bury him in the back garden. I know, incredible. Well, it's an amazing story, and we'll be finding out about that more about that in a few minutes. First of all, though, let's speak to Craig and Dudley. Good morning, Craig.
Morning, mate.
Craig, what would you like to say?
The death sentence.
Yeah.
I'm all for the death sentence, bringing it back. If a person's known to go out and kill someone willingly, right, that person has got to be put to death. Why should the UK taxpayer pay to keep that person squandering in jail for the rest of his life, or 16, 17 years, whatever tariff he's been given? Why should we pay him out as a nation when he's done wrong?
Well, for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because I would suggest that killing someone is not a real punishment, because they are not. The punishment is to be incarcerated and have your liberty taken away, isn't it?
No, but is your liberty really taken away by going to jail? Some of these people, they love going in jail because they get 3 square meals a day, they get PlayStations, they get TVs. How's their liberty been taken away? I've got a friend who's a prison officer who I served in the army with, right? And he said, you wouldn't believe some of the privileges that they get. They get better food than guys serving on the front line in Afghanistan. So how has their privileges been taken away by sending them to jail?
Because they're locked up in a prison. They can't go abroad, they can't go out and meet their family, they can't make love to people, they can't do all of these things that you and I take for granted. So yes, their liberty is taken away.
But they're still living and they're still breathing. And eventually, somewhere along the lines, they will leave jail in later life. Not necessarily that they've been punished for
What
it.
about people who have been found, like Victor Neelan, people who have been sentenced to prison, would be sentenced to death, although Victor Neelan probably wouldn't, but have been found to be not guilty?
Well, the DNA should kick in, however.
Doesn't work. Doesn't always work. It's not 100%. The government is making cutbacks in the DNA research that's being done, the forensic labs. We heard from a solicitor earlier on who said that there are so many people being arrested and sentenced to prison, even now, that shouldn't be there.
Well, because the DNA hasn't proved him not guilty.
Yeah. There are things. There are things. It's still not 100% certain.
Well, we vote the government at a time, don't we? It's up to the people of this country to vote for an alternative government. It's going to have to do it properly. The government's also making changes with the police system, you know, the prison officers, with the military. But it's all going to backfire. It's backfiring now. But as we're killing someone, well, if you're going to willingly and kill someone or butchered someone on the street, right, and you've been filmed there, stood...
Well, I see where you're going. Listen, for goodness sakes, everybody, why is this message not getting through? There is an ongoing court case at the moment. We cannot talk about that specific case. Now, everyone's... I know these people have been told, please. It's BBC censorship. It's liberal... No, it's not. It's subjudice. Look it up. It's a word. It's a legal thing. We cannot talk about an ongoing... Once that court case is finished, boy oh boy... We'll do a whole week of shows on it. Can't do it now. 08453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give me a call. Now, last week, you might remember, we discussed NIMBYism, not in my backyard, about where we bury our dead and whether we have a right to complain about where cemeteries are created. Well, this is an incredible story that I think you're going to want to hear. Patricia Waters from Kidderminster. Her husband, Eddie, sadly died last month at the age of 87. Now, rather than burying him in a public cemetery, she's organised for him to be laid to rest in her own back garden. Well, Patricia joins you on the line now. Good morning, Patricia.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Tell me about Eddie. What was he like?
Eddie? Well, he was a school teacher. He was a school teacher at St Ambrose's Roman Catholic School, Kidderminster, for 21 years. I met him at St Ambrose's because I also was a school teacher at the same school for 27 years. So he was a colleague, really. And that was as far as it went until my mother died and I was left alone, and he came to my rescue and we fell in love and got married.
What kind of man was he?
He was very quiet, very, what shall we say, compact within himself. He was Welsh, from Port Talbot. He was one of a family of 10 children.
Wow.
Exactly.
Gosh.
Exactly. His mother and father were poor. How on earth they managed to bring up 10 children, I do not know, but they did. And all those children were so happy and content. You know, they didn't want anything great or rich. And so Eddie was, I think he was about the middle child. There were 5 boys and 5 girls. And Eddie was the second boy. All right? He went to the grammar school, I presume in Port Talbot. He went to Teachers Training College. And then he came to St Ambrose's, where I met him.
He sounds like a very special man.
Absolutely. The doctor here calls him a miracle man. Because, you know, he had his stomach removed for cancer.
I did not know that. Oh, my goodness.
All this is very important.
Go on.
This is about 19 years ago. He had his whole stomach removed for cancer.
All of it?
Yes. All of it.
How, and this...
Exactly.
How did he live for 19 years?
That's why he's called a miracle man.
What did he do? How did he
didn't do anything. He could eat very little.
Wow.
In fact, he hardly ate anything at all. We go out for a meal and he just ate a little potato and a little bit of meat.
A cheap date.
What?
A cheap date.
Well, no, he had to pay for the full meal, but he
Right.
couldn't eat it. Anyhow, to go back to this medical history, the surgeon said at the time that cancer can recur. And even though they'd taken out his stomach, it could recur again. Now, that's nearly 19 years ago. Now then, 2 years later, he started barking like a wolf. Are you with me?
I think I am.
Well...
Carry on.
And the doctor sent him to the hospital, and they found out that his intestines, during the first operation, had been twisted.
Oh, my goodness.
This is true. This is all medical record.
Yes.
And they had to cut. And the surgeon came to me and he said, if I cut too much or too little, he's going to die. Right? Well, anyhow, they managed to cut the right amount, and he lived after that. Right?
Yes. So now, listen. Let's move up to date if we can.
Sorry, go on.
No, don't apologise, Patricia. I'm finding this absolutely fascinating.
It's more than fascinating. It's a miracle.
No, it is.
Yeah. That's why they call him the miracle man.
What made you decide to bury him in the back garden?
Well, we talked about it. We have a beautiful garden here. I mean, we love it. I mean, it's a fantastic garden in summer. And I do an awful lot of gardening. And I thought, well, rather than going to an impersonal cemetery, you know, why not be buried here, where we both love so much?
And was it easy to arrange?
Absolutely spot on. You couldn't have had it much easier.
Do you need to get special permission from the council or anything?
Well, you know, I think it's Harris is the funeral director here. Well, they sort of did the nitty-gritty. But yes, you see, this is amazing. Just after Eddie came out of hospital, I found an article about being buried in your garden.
Yeah.
And it said that you can be buried in your garden under this particular act. Well, I haven't got it with me at the moment. And this particular act said anybody can be buried in the garden provided that they're not near any flowing water or not near any pipes or electrical stuff, whatever.
Okay. Patricia, stay there because we have got Mark Bullivant from Edwin Harris and Sons, the funeral directors.
Right.
Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Here we are, Mark.
Yes, this is very odd. This must be quite unusual for you.
I mean, Edwin Harris's have been in business since 1895, and whilst we have done burials in grounds before, I mean, I'm talking about perhaps houses in the countryside with acres of land, and somebody's been buried in a field. When it comes to burying in a residential property in a house in the middle of a town, that's where it's very unusual. And as far as we are concerned, this is probably the first of its kind, certainly in Worcestershire.
What permissions did you have to get to do this?
No permissions as such. There's obviously guidelines that you have to follow, which Mrs. Walters has mentioned. I mean, I consulted with the local police force, and obviously I'd spoken to the council to make sure that we complied with everything we needed to. But it was very, very straightforward to do.
So it doesn't have to be holy land or anything. I could bury anybody in my back garden, could I?
You can.
Provided.
Provided.
Yeah, I think it starts to get difficult when you've got, obviously with Mrs. Waters' house, it was freehold land.
Right.
So she owns the land. If you've perhaps got leasehold land,
yeah,
or you're a tenant in a property, I think then that's when it starts to get complicated.
Patricia, we've got a text here from one of the listeners, Cindy, if I can just read it.
Go on.
When Patricia dies and her house is for sale, what does she think will happen to her husband if someone wanted her house?
Well, shall I tell you what's going to happen?
Tell me, yes.
Right. Well, all this property here is dedicated to the Mother of God. Now, I know that sounds weird at the moment, but it will all come to fruition.
Yes.
So when I die, it is going to go to a special young man who is in Vietnam studying for the priesthood of the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And the other house will also go to priests who are dedicated to the Mother of God. So all this is going, well, it's in my will anyway, and in Eddie's will as well, which of course is non-existent now. But it's all for this reason and purpose. So there's going to be absolutely no worry about who's going to inherit both houses.
Mark, when you get a request like this, what's your reaction?
I think our reaction is, with any funeral requests we have, is that we will always do our best to comply with the wishes of the family, and we certainly did that with this particular situation.
And has the ceremony's in a week's time? Is that correct, or has it happened?
No, it happened last Saturday.
It happened last. I do apologise. I'm sorry. I'm reading this the wrong way. That's my fault for being silly. And how did it go, Mark? Did it go smoothly?
Very smoothly, yes. I mean, Mrs. Waters performed a short ceremony in the house before the burial, and then we brought Mr. Waters out and placed him gently in the grave in the garden.
And have you got a headstone or something there, Patricia?
Not yet. It's early days. The soil has to settle.
Right. Okay. But that's the plan. And what you'll when the weather's nicer, you'll sit in the garden.
I'm always in the garden gardening.
Yeah.
Even in winter, I love it.
That must be very comforting knowing that Eddie's there.
Of course it is. I can look out the window next door and see the spot.
Well, listen, again, I'm sorry for your loss, but I appreciate you coming on this morning and telling me your story, Patricia. Thank you.
And another thing, at the bottom of this garden there's a 20-foot drop, which goes on to the canal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's with the Wolverhampton, I don't know which it is. And then there's a towpath, and then there's the River Stour. So it's a rather unusual situation altogether.
It sounds fantastic. Patricia, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much. Also, Mark Bullivant from Edwin Harris and Sons Funeral Directors. If you want to have your say on that, I know, yes, 08453 009956, then do. If you've got any unusual burial or funeral stories, speaking of funerals, I know it wasn't a funeral, it was a memorial, and you probably talked about it all week. But I have to mention the selfie. The selfie. David Cameron, Obama and Helen Gorman-Schmidt, the Danish Prime Minister. I've made that name up. That was odd, wasn't it? That was an odd thing to do. Inappropriate? Yes, I think it possibly was. But I kind of looked into this. And there is a website online dedicated to people who have posted pictures, selfies of themselves at funerals. This is a growing trend. People going to funerals and taking selfies, photographs of themselves. Why on earth would you do something like that? 08453 009956. It's time to tell you. He says, rustling a piece of paper. Keith Middleton, this and every Saturday night for the very best in 70s and 80s music and guests. This Saturday from 10, Keith will be joined by Andy Scott from The Sweet. Now, The Sweet, one of the great underrated rock bands of... Go and put on Blockbuster by The Sweet. It's a dirty little song. The guitar on that sounds fantastic. No, I did say that, but I do think those 70s glam bands, I think they get a rough treatment. Honestly, Sweet, they rock. Not as good as Slade, but they rock. And also Dave Bartram, former lead singer of Showaddy Waddy. I was never a fan of Showaddy Waddy. No, I wasn't. Under the moon. They wore those coloured suits, didn't they? They wore this. I wasn't. I wasn't a fan of them. Call Keith. There's a new feature as well where Keith wants you to be part of the programme. This week he's asking you what was the landmark moment in your life that you'll never forget and why. You can start calling from 10 o'clock tonight. It's Keith from 10 this Saturday for more late-night fun and frolics, it says here. I'm always dubious of late-night frolics. I'm getting too old for frolics at my age. If you want to give me a call, though, in the last 25 minutes of the show, you can do 08453 009956. Now, who needs to drive up the M6 to Blackpool when we've got our very own illuminations here in the Black Country? Except, of course, that the Walsall... now, I always struggle with this word... Arboretum. I can never... Arboretum. I always struggle with that word when it's written down in front of me. Thank you. The Walsall Arboretum illuminations have remained unlit since 2009 as another victim of council spending cuts. But this year, the sparkle is coming back to Walsall in the form of a light, sound and water show, which starts today. The event at the Canal Basin is the combined efforts of the town's new art gallery and a local businessman. I'm joined now by Clive Jessup. Good morning, Clive.
Morning, Ian.
And I've also got Nina Brooke-Lloyd, who's the person who's got the important job of performing the switch on. Good morning, Nina.
Hello.
Oh, Nina, how old are you?
9.
You're 9 years old and you've got this hugely important job. How did you get the job of switching on the lights?
I had to do some designs on a paper boat and then they were judged.
And what were your designs? Can you describe them?
I did lots of kind of wavy patterns and lines and things.
Fantastic. Do you like doing art?
Yeah, it's my favourite subject at school.
Really? It's better than maths, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, man, maths. Listen, you don't need maths when you get older either. You focus on your art, Nina. Are you feeling nervous about this?
A bit. Mostly excited, though.
I bet you're very, very excited. And are your friends and family going to be coming along to watch?
One of my friends from school is, and my mum and dad are definitely coming.
Yeah, I bet they are. They must be so proud of you. Do you know what you need to do? Do you have to press a button? Are you pulling a lever? What do you have to do, Nina?
Absolutely no idea.
That's the best way. That's the best way. Then you can turn up and you can just get shown how to do it. Nina, stay there. I'll come back to you in a second. Let's go to Clive Jessup first. Morning, Clive. Tell me more about these lights and what's inspired them.
Okay, yeah, great. We completed the development recently alongside the Canal Basin and used lots of colour and tried to sort of pick up on the high-quality architecture of the art gallery. And we just felt that we wanted to put something back into the community. And obviously, being a local lad, I was aware that the Arboretum lights are no longer in form. But the Canal Basin is a historic man-made area that really is a jewel in the crown for the centre of Walsall, really. So we wanted to sort of highlight that with a spectacular water fountain, dancing water fountains and lights, just to celebrate it and bring people in from across the Black Country to see what Walsall has to offer.
What's a dancing water fountain?
Well, they come all pre-made up and they're all connected up and they literally choreograph them against a computer program and the various themes of music. And I have to say, we've taken our influences from further afield. We've seen some examples in Dubai, and I think your listeners may be aware of watching the water fountains at the Burj Khalifa Tower and also in Singapore, and it really is a sort of a huge attraction in those areas. And we thought we wanted to bring our own little international flavour back into the heart of Walsall.
I think have they got one of these in Las Vegas where the jets of water squirt up?
Absolutely, yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was the only thing in Las Vegas, in that awful place, worth seeing. It does look amazing. Expensive, I'd imagine.
Not terribly, but I mean, our company's funded it. Obviously, we're aware of the tight budgets the councils are on these days, but it was a way of giving something back to the community and saying, look, and also celebrating the development that's there and for the people of Walsall to come and see what a fantastic area they've got there, really.
It is one of the byproducts of these austerity measures that lots of things like Christmas lights and lights like this, they have been cancelled to save money. Why do you think they're so important to a community?
I think reinventing new ideas are important to communities just to celebrate what people have actually got there. And as I say, the Canal Basin is a jewel in the crown of Walsall, really. It is something to be celebrated. You'll see in the summer people fishing there. There's some beautiful fish to see in there. The boats trundle along. And it really is a nice piece of man-made architecture, really. And, as I say, it's our way of trying to bring people there to celebrate it.
And it's being... Is it tonight it's being turned on?
Yeah, correct. Nina's won the competition with a fantastic colours. I have to say that was one of the things that the judges picked up on, was how colourful Nina's artwork was, and it sort of celebrated. We wanted to introduce colour and vibrancy. And yeah, it goes from tonight at 4, starts at 4, and it goes every 10 minutes till 7 p.m, and it's on again tomorrow, Ian.
Now listen, Nina doesn't quite know what she has to do tonight. Do you have any, can you tell her now? Do you have any idea?
Well, I was going to say she has to swim into the middle of the canal, but I didn't want to frighten the
Oh
first
no,
guard.
don't Nina, ignore him, he's being naughty.
I'm being silly.
Naughty Clive.
No, I believe it literally is a computer program. She literally has to go outside with the people that organise it and press the button, and it's all done through computer, so she'll have a huge round of applause, I'm sure, from the crowd that's there. And as she presses the button, hopefully we'll launch into a bit of pyro as well. There are some pyro techniques going on for the first one, so we're looking forward to...
So, Nina, you have to press a button. You can do that, can't you? Nina?
Hello.
Yeah, that's okay. You have to press a button tonight. You can do that, can't you?
I can press a button.
You can press it. Maybe practice today. Go around pressing as many buttons as you can, just to get it, so you're up to speed with it for tonight. Do you think you can do that?
Probably.
Any idea on numbers, Clive? How many people you're expecting down there?
Well, we've got something going on at the art gallery itself. We've got 120 guests coming, but no, it's open to the public outside of that, and we're hoping that people don't people can spread their time, because there's other things going on in the town at that time. So, as I say, the show reconfigures every 10 minutes, so people don't need to rush to the first one. There's a second one, a third one. There's plenty more throughout the evening, really. So they can plan around the evening to suit themselves.
Listen, Clive, thank you so much for doing this. I think it's well, in some ways it's sad that the responsibility has fallen on independent businesses to do this, but well done you for stepping up to the mark and trying to make a difference in your area.
Thank you.
And Nina, best of luck tonight. Enjoy it. I think you're going to have lots of fun, and your mum and dad are going to be very proud of you. Thank you very much indeed. 08453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. Very exciting. Yes, she's every right to be a little bit nervous. It's a big thing for a 9-year-old. It's a big thing for anybody to want to do. But she's going to be doing it, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic.
This just coming into us here on BBC WM.
What's your take on it then?
Breaking news from down your road.
Scandals in your postal code. Crime, corruption,
Train disruption.
just because it nearly snowed.
Passion callers vent their spleen.
Live reporters on the scene.
Email.
Text.
Have your say.
More on that throughout the day.
Weekday mornings.
Big debates. Opinions to articulate.
Afternoons, fun and chat.
Place and tunes.
To the fat.
Guests and personalities
From all of our communities.
If you love where you live.
It's you we should be talking with.
The voice.
The voice.
The voice. The voice.
The voice.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM 95.6.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Normally at this time of the show... I've only been here for a few weeks, OK? Normally at this time of the show, Daz Hale pops into the studio, we have a little chat, a little bit of what I like to think of as friendly banter, and then we carry on. But Daz, you've not even bothered to come into the studio today. What have I done wrong?
I'll tell you what, I'm like Alan Wickham, and I with all the travelling. I'm at Shrewsbury today with Richard Wilford, because we've got an early kick-off this afternoon, so we'll be on air from midday at the Greenhouse Meadow. I'll tell you what, though, it's windy here, and I've got my hat on, and I'm having to hold on to it at the moment. I'm just glad, obviously, follically challenged. I'm glad I don't wear a wig, because if I did, I think I would probably get found out this afternoon here. It's one of those sort of blustery, it goes right through you.
Are you not in a luxury press box?
Well, we're in a press box, but should we leave it at that? No, it's just a little bit exposed at Shrewsbury. It's a lovely ground, and they're looking after us very nicely, but shall we say a little bit exposed to the elements.
Now, listen, we've been talking about this match this morning, Daz, because of obviously what happened a year ago. Everything's going to be fine today, isn't it?
Well, let's bring in Richard with me as well, because you were here when Walsall played at Shrewsbury, and they actually played him off the park and got beat, didn't they? And then went on that really, really bad run.
They did, but the off-the-field point that Ian's making is that this is a proper rivalry, isn't it? They're two clubs who historically played quite a lot, but in the last 20 years, not so much. They haven't found themselves in the same division, and there was quite a bit of hostility, particularly away to our right. The beautifully named, may I say, you can't make it up, Provision CCTV stand, and they may need some of that today with the rival supporters. There was a little bit of hostility there, it's fair to say, and that is why we find ourselves here at 1 o'clock on a Saturday.
But I like to think the best of people. It's not going to happen again today, is it? Surely.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so, because I think that this time as well, that obviously there'll be a bit of Christmas spirit flying around anyway here, and they'll be just like exchanging Christmas cards, but also the police will be on the game. There'll be anything after, maybe they were caught a little bit unawares, as Richard said, just the intense of how intense the rivalry is between the two clubs. They won't. They'll be ready for it this time. And they've played twice since at the Bankses as well, and they played only 3 or 4 weeks ago in the FA Cup, and there was no problems then. So
there's a supermarket next door. If they give everybody a mince pie and some eggnog, it'll be fine.
Yeah, a bit of Advocar, Ian.
Yeah,
a bit of that. Yeah.
Listen, lads, it sounds cold. Go and get some Bovril and a hot pie, and we'll get you on after 12. Okay?
Already done that. I'll get another one.
Thank you very much, Daz Hale, Richard Wilford. I'm so glad I'm indoors. I'm so glad I don't have to go out and do things like that. Oh dear, it sounded windy, didn't it? Bless them. 08453 009956 is the telephone number. It's coming up to 11:45. So it's time to get the latest travel news now. Here's Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. There's still rather a lot of congestion around. Obviously, it's not helped in the Bromsgrove area by the ongoing closure of the A448 both ways because of an accident between the A38 and Alfchurch Highway. Recovery work has got underway, but we don't know yet from police when it's likely to reopen. Certainly causing a lot of congestion on the surrounding routes, the A38 in particular, in Wychbold and Bromsgrove, and towards Junction 4 of the M5 and towards Junction 1 of the M42. The A441 through Redditch is also quite heavy going in both directions. Round Tutnell is slow, not helped by roadworks at the junction with Stony Lane and Hewell Lane. There's lots of shopping traffic about today, so through Solihull is looking quite heavy on Prince's Way. Round Merry Hill is also quite busy, as you might expect, and on the motorway the M6 is struggling between 7 and 5 through the Birmingham turns both ways. Your match day travel then sees West Bromwich fans heading to Cardiff. Down the M5 is not looking too bad. Birmingham City fans are heading to Bournemouth. There were problems on the M40 as you head south. That's looking better than it was, just one lane closed passing the scene of an accident by Junction 9. Walsall fans, of course, you better get a move on heading to Shrewsbury. It doesn't take long, and the M54 is looking OK, but there's obviously match day restrictions in place at Greenhouse Meadow. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
Liz, thank you very much.
I've been so busy, I've asked my little BBC WM elves to gift wrap some special shows just for you. There's Pete Morgan.
I'll present music from the movies.
Adrian Goldberg.
From the Midlands with love, I present a music special with the Wonder Stuff's Miles Hunt.
Caroline Martin.
Ahead of the 50th anniversary of Radio Caroline, we look at the history of pirate radio.
Danny Kelly.
A special look at the 1980s, the good, the bad and the ugly.
And Paul Franks.
An hour of rock music, special guests, including Mick Jones, the man who started the band Foreigner back in 1976.
For a list of what's going on when, go to bbc.co.uk/WM.
This Christmas on BBC WM 95.6.
Man alive, I'm so excited about Christmas now. I'm so excited. I'm completely in the mood. We took the boys to the pictures yesterday. The first trip to the cinema, nearly 4 and 2, to see that new Disney film, Frozen. Oh, it's good, isn't it? The songs in it are fantastic. I must admit, I missed the half an hour in the middle. The youngest one was getting a bit restless, so I had to take him out for a little wander, and we went and looked at a Christmas tree. But it was just magical. What a great film. I've not been to the cinema. When you have kids of a certain age, you don't get to go to the pictures very often, and it's expensive, but it's an experience. And to sit there, I had both my boys on my lap, sat there, and they were I know, it was uncomfortable, but it was fun. Transfixed by this film. Oh, it's great. If you've got kids of a certain age, go and see Frozen. Honestly, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. This is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6 here every Saturday between 9 and 12, isn't it? I think that's the slot I'm doing. Something like that. Anyway, if you want to take part, talking... so many things we've talked about. Quick recap, and I'll speak to Maureen. We've spoken about a gentleman who was sentenced to served 16 years in prison for a rape that he didn't commit. What can we do? What kind of compensation is there that would even begin to make up for the loss that he suffered? 16 years of his life. That got us talking about the death penalty and your run-ins with the law and miscarriages of justice. 08453 009956. Also spoken about football hooliganism. We spoke to One-Eyed Baz. Yeah, he used to be a football hooligan. I was shocked, and I think I can say disgusted by what he had to say. It was pretty unpleasant. John in Wensbury has texted in, can I just say, this Barrington speaking is a complete backside. And after admitting this on air, should be arrested and put away. You shouldn't be interviewing this guy as he is scum. Well, 08453 009956 before the end of the show. Very, very special guest. But on the subject of funerals, we spoke to Patricia Waters, who buried her husband in her back garden. Maureen's in Tividale. Morning, Maureen.
Good morning, Ian.
Maureen, what would you like to say?
What we did with my husband, he wasn't a religious man at all. And he loved going down and sitting on the seashore. And so we decided amongst the close family that was where we would leave him. And we scattered his ashes on his birthday on the seashore.
Now, did you have to get permission to do this?
No, we didn't. No. I phoned up all the councils and everything to do with where it was, and they said no. Just be careful who's around, they said, because they don't want ash sandwiches.
Well, exactly. Also, do make sure you're throwing the ashes in the right direction, because I'm sure as much as you loved your husband, you wouldn't want to get a mouthful or an eyeful, would you?
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Because I didn't realise that to scatter someone's ashes in most places, you need to go and get permission from someone, from the council, don't you?
Yeah, well, I phoned up the council and they said, no, you don't need permission from us at all. Just be careful what you're doing with him, which we did.
Well, that's good. And was it? What does it feel like scattering someone's ashes? Do you finally feel that you've reached a point of peace, a full stop?
Yes, I did. Yes. For a few days before it happened, I got very wound up because I knew it was just like having another funeral.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And you get wound up before the funeral because he died in February and we did this in August on his birthday. And it was just a case of, you know, getting sort of all wound up again.
Yeah.
But as I was actually throwing his ashes, I felt really good. I know it sounds a horrible thing to say, really.
No, it doesn't sound horrible. It actually sounds very comforting. Yeah.
It was an end. But he's with me now. I sit and talk to him and all sorts of things. And I can feel him round me and with me.
This is the thing. I think once I've lost two family members this year. I lost my dad and I lost my aunt this year. And I think once they're dead, to me, the body doesn't mean anything. That wasn't my dad in that box. You're right. My dad is with me. And if I want to talk to him, I'll have a chat with him.
That's it.
Quite often in the car, I'll have a little chat with him.
That's it. I mean, I've done decorating and, you know, I've had help doing different things around the house. And I'll sit down and I'll say, do you like what we've done?
and if anyone watched you, they might think you were potty. But isn't that lovely that you can?
Would.
Yeah, isn't that lovely you can do that?
I think it is, because I feel him here still.
Mm.
Yeah.
Maureen, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's true. Often, if I've got a long car journey, I often have a little chat with my dad. You know, kind of ask him about advice on things. And it does sound potty, and I always thought this was potty when I was younger, but now it's really comforting. I haven't got any knickknacks on my dad. I've got a watch, actually. Not a particularly good watch, but it's a watch that he gave me before he passed away. I need to get the strap fixed and I'll wear that. But that's it. I don't need gravestones and to know where his body's buried, or, I mean, he got cremated in the end. I don't need knickknacks and bits and pieces. He's there. He's here now, probably. Let's have a look at some of these texts before we go to our very special guest to end the show. On the subject of the death penalty, Ian, it's not for us, Russell, it's not for us to put people to death, but I do understand the anger of those in favour of the death penalty when we hear of low-life dirtbags like Myra Hindley having nose jobs and going shopping. These vile creatures should be made to suffer until they die naturally. The innocent man in question deserves millions. Nobody has mentioned the rape victim. Did she testify against him? If so, will she be held accountable? Well, that's an interesting thing. We didn't really get on to talk about the victim in this and how it would affect her. I mean, if she thought that the person that had done it was banged up and locked up in prison, to then find out that actually he's not, it was the wrong person, how does that make her feel? There's another point that's been missed. Oh, here's a great one from Neil. There's another important point that has been missed regards Victor being wrongly convicted, and that is for the past 16 years, there's been a rapist freely walking the streets. Very, very good point indeed. Listen, I've been promising you a big guest. We have got a very big guest. A vicar in Wiltshire, that's not him, it's bigger than that, has apologised this week after he mistakenly told primary school pupils during an assembly he doesn't believe in Father Christmas. The Reverend Simon Tatton Brown has said sorry to children and parents after the comments at Charter Primary in Chippenham. Well, this morning, to put everybody's mind at rest, to prove that Father Christmas is real, I got to speak to the real Father Christmas. This is what he had to say.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Father Christmas. Now, it's lovely to speak to you.
It's lovely to speak to you.
First question. I'm very, very well, Father Christmas. First question, yes. Father Christmas or Santa Claus? Which one do you prefer?
I really don't mind, you see. Santa Claus is more modern, because that's more the American version.
Yes.
And Father Christmas is just more traditionally English, you
yes.
see. I don't mind, you see.
I'm an old man, so I'm still batting in the Father Christmas corner.
That's fine with me.
How busy are you? I mean, where are we? The 14th of December. You must be getting really busy now.
I'm always busy, but particularly at the moment, the elves are all working very hard, making the toys for everyone, and Mrs. Claus is busy faffing around, getting everything ready for Christmas Day. It's very busy indeed, you see.
Now, there are some people, Father Christmas, and I don't understand how their minds work. There are some people that don't believe in you. What would you say to those people?
Well, I'm very real, you know. I honestly don't know why they don't believe in me. Perhaps they've lost their magic in life. That's all it can be, really, isn't it?
And the thing is, the magic is very important, isn't it, at this time of year?
Of course it is. If you don't have the magic at Christmas time, then really you've lost something in life, I think. I think the magic at Christmas time is for everyone to have a little bit of hope, to believe in some niceness and everything, and the kindness in everyone, you see.
Now, Father Christmas, I shouldn't really hijack this interview, but I'm going to. My two little boys, they're 4 and 2 years old. They're very, very excited about you coming to our house. They're just curious, how do you manage to see all of the boys and girls and get to all their houses in one night?
Without going into too much detail and giving away too much of the magic, it's all about slowing down time, you see. So if you can turn a second into a year and a minute into a millennium, then it's far easier to get round the world. And that's why every time you wake up on Christmas morning, it feels like you've had a most wonderful sleep. Even if you went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and woke up by the kids at 4, you always feel refreshed on Christmas morning, and that's the reason, you see.
Now, you visit lots of children, obviously all over the world, but here in the West Midlands, you get to meet loads of different kids. What's the main thing they're asking for this year, Father Christmas?
Oh, I'm getting lots of requests for the Star Wars toys, as always. That's always very popular. And this year, I'm getting lots of requests again for Furbies.
Oh, Furbies are back, are they?
Yes, I remember those when they first came around.
Yes.
Back in the late 90s. But everyone seems to want Furbies again for some reason. I don't mind. I like Furbies.
And when you've finished all your deliveries and you've had a little bit of a rest, what do you like to do on Christmas Day yourself?
Oh, Christmas Day, very traditional for me and Mrs. Claus. We have a nice Christmas dinner with all of the elves, and the reindeers are fed and watered and then looked after. And then we just settle down and we watch some television like everyone normal, you see. That's all we do. We're a very normal couple, you know.
What would you like the boys and girls and mums and dads to leave you as a little snack on Christmas Eve? What's your favourite thing?
Well, I'm very partial to mince pies.
Good.
You may have noticed I'm a bit portly these days, but
yes.
That's mainly due to mince pies.
You never thought of going on a diet?
Oh, really? Well, why would I go on a diet?
Of course. And finally, Father Christmas, and but boy, oh boy, I'm so excited about speaking to you. You are one of my heroes. My two lads have asked for toys from Toy Story. What do you think the chances are of them getting them?
Well, I have to ask, had they both been good this year?
What's your definition of good? Yes, they have been very good, actually. They've been very good boys.
Good. Well, all I ask is, have the children tried to be good this year?
Yep.
But that's all I can ask.
And if they've been good, you reckon there's a good chance they might get the things they're after?
I think there might be a very good chance, but there's still a few days to go, you know. It's not Christmas yet.
Father Christmas, it's a real pleasure and an honour to speak to you, sir. You are truly a legend and one of my heroes, and thank you very much for proving that you're real.
Oh, my pleasure. And it's been a wonderful experience talking to you as well, sir. Have a wonderful Christmas, and that goes for your listeners too.
There you go. You see proof, if proof need be.
On BBC WM.
95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
That was the real Father Christmas, dear listener. The real Father Christmas. Oh, we skip this. We want to go here. I do apologise. Oh, dear, all over the shop. I can only apologise. I know. My fat fingers. Fat fingers, that's all it is. And because I'm excited. And we've cracked open a bottle of booze. Those things combined lead to the show coming off the rails at the end. Never mind. Thank you very much, everyone who took part. You can get in touch during the week if you want. iain.lee@bbc.co.uk. Until next Saturday at 9 o'clock. Ta-ta.
Waking up the West Midlands with the latest news, sport, weather and travel updates. Pete Morgan at Breakfast is back Monday morning from 6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.